Alrighty, you're our first up. Silas, what's going on, bro? I'm standing by here for everyone to hop in.
Not
Everyone,
much. What about yourself? Can you hear me well?
yeah, I can hear you pretty well. All good, all set.
All set. That's great.
Yeah, so I got the idea for this topic from Schiller. You might have seen me interact with him a little bit. He wanted to talk about this, but I figure I will kind of let it flow because my mind can't seem to develop this into a long topic, but I think, how it goes with this group here is, as I'm sure you've heard, is we kind of wind up connecting everything because we're all 5,000 IQ geniuses and we can connect every idea to everything.
Yeah, so it'll just build upon itself.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good approach. So,
Yeah, for sure. I see you got the Canadian flag. Where in Canada, or if you don't want to give it away, that's okay. I know we all have stalker freaks stalking us all day on Twitter, so if you don't want to give it away, but
I don't know, it's fine. Yeah.
yeah, fun fact, my wife is Canadian and I am actually in Canada now.
Really? Really?
Yes, sir. I've been
You know what?
joking I've been joking that I'm an immigrant and I'm ruining ruining the country.
You're stepping. Yeah, you're a fake student or something like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that.
I should go around saying I don't speak English.
You're probably visiting like when everybody goes to Canada, they're always visiting like what are you in British Columbia or Ontario? That's probably where you are.
Uh I won't say publicly too far where in Canada I am because dude, I literally
Okay.
have. You know what's crazy? I don't even say things that are that bad, like or make that bad jokes. But some freaks literally like still try to find me and everything, and people who, because originally I did Marchese Methods, I kind of did it on my personal socials too and everything. So I guess some freaks found me and well,
What the fuck?
yeah, some freaks that like I used to know like were just like seething and coping, so they started like finding people on Twitter here and telling them like who I am and everything. So I'm like, "Oh brother."
Wow.
So,
Wow, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe maybe maybe, maybe I'll take the
Yeah.
I
We'll
can't
be
maybe I'll take the flag off sometime. I don't know. Take off
yeah.
some other stuff, yeah.
Uh
That's
so yeah.
that's wicked.
Yeah. So that was let me send another message here, or not message, but let me reply in our thread here. Get everyone coming in here. Frostbitten Grigga, what's up, dude? I see you accepted me.
Yo, what's up, my man?
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I guess we could just sort of go around for starters and say, you guys can tell me what's your experience with like the fitness stuff or anything like that. Is that a part of your life? Is that not a part of your life? Are you learning about it now?
I I am very I'm pretty new to fitness. So, uh yeah, I've had a fitness regimen for a few weeks now.
Nice.
So, so
What prompted you to get started?
um, in deep honesty, part of it, in really deep honesty here, part of it was so so I have really bad hair genetics, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been balding since I was very young, and so I am now motivated to really avoid looking a lot older
Gotcha.
than I am. So that's why. That's really the reason why I've been getting into it more now, and I've been more conscious about, been more careful about what I eat too. So
Nice, yeah.
yeah,
Dude, it's so funny, like, the hairline thing, I mean, like, it's weird how we really do have this masculinity crisis wherein women will just say things online and so many men take it seriously and like revolve their lives around, and that's not to say that you're doing this, but like this hairline
Yeah,
this hairline meme, it's like, yeah, okay, it's not, would you prefer to have your hairline intact? Yes. But this idea that all of a sudden it means you're like coping and seething and balding and oh, you're insecure and all that. Like, it's women just arbitrarily assigned that some sort of testament to your character, and men just like eat that up and just take it. The amount of people who have even said to me on here like, oh, that freaking hairline, and I'm like, okay, and like, how does that speak to my character? How does that
yeah,
indicate what I'm saying is wrong? And it's funny when they talk like that because I could make their arguments for them better. Like, I could say on their behalf what they're trying to say is that, well, my argument must be, since my argument is, or since I'm balding or whatever, you're trying to imply that my argument isn't grounded in some sort of actual rationality. It's more so an elaborate psychodynamic cope with being bald, a distortion of reality around that, and it's some sort of cope. And that would work because I say that, it's cool. The meme that I do is based when me and my friends say it, but unironically, I like that would work if what I'm saying wasn't rational and didn't make sense, and you could prove it otherwise. That's how you can actually use that psychology stuff, wherein it's stuff like abortion, for example, right? Like, it's 2025. Nobody has to go over abortion anymore. It's been like exhausted, and the reality is, any pro-abortion thing isn't really grounded in anything other than, I just want to endlessly coom. Women who argue for
yeah,
abortion,
yeah,
it's they want to endlessly coom, and they can't go literally the one fucking week a month it takes to
exactly.
not get pregnant without getting fucking coomed in. And it's not even, and that's what the
yeah,
funny
yeah.
part too. It's not even
And
not having sex for that week. It's just don't get coomed in, and they still can't help themselves. So it's like, you know,
exactly.
so that's that part there. What about you, Frostbitten Grigga? Have you been doing fitness for a while, or?
Yeah, I started in, I think, early high school, but it wasn't anything like serious. No, actually, I think probably middle school, but maybe it kicked up a bit, in high school.
Mhm.
And I didn't have any weights back then, so I would improvise. Like, we had these tall, like lamp stands, I guess you could call them, or like candle stands, I guess you could say. And there was one heavy side and one light side, so I would kind of barbell curl that, and I would use our ivy in our basement for, pull-ups and stuff like that, and I just do push-ups, sit-ups and stuff. Like, I think I kind of let myself go between maybe 2013 to 2015,
Mhm.
or maybe even like to 2020 maybe.
Mhm.
And I think I really started to take it, like I was exercising and whatnot. I would, go on walks and stuff like that, but I started taking it serious, 2021 and stuff like that, especially when I could afford my own food. And so now
Mhm.
it was basically kicked up, and I haven't been to the gym in a while, but I was going to the gym with my uncle. I was going to LA Fitness, and he's crazy. I wouldn't say that he's David Goggins level, but he at least has that mindset, and he's insane. And, I think he's like in his 50s, and, he's a bit overweight, but the thing is, he's been doing a lot of crazy stuff for so long that it's just like his body is used to it no matter what. So
Mhm.
it could hurt, but like I was the only one that would actually want to go to the gym with him because I didn't care. Like, I'm not gonna bitch out on stuff. Like I really want to take fitness seriously. So, um, at first it was like a thing where like, oh, I wanted to, look good for girls and whatnot. But now it's
Yeah.
just, I'm mainly focusing on longevity. So like there's still a bit of that. Like I'll use that. Like I'll get looks and compliments at work and that's fine. But, that just tells me that I'm making progress. But now it's basically just for longevity. And so like I'm going to start doing research or whatnot on, how exactly what I'm doing is helping me, achieve a longer life. How what I'm doing is, decreasing my chances of cancer and stuff like that and other, chronic
Yeah.
diseases. I like stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I similarly, when I started when I was like 13, 14, and to your point, I wasn't serious. I fell for all the memes that I, vehemently oppose now, the memes of, oh, it's important to West. West is a vital part of recovery and stuff like that. Well, you know, actually, I had friends who would say, dude, actually, if you work out more than 45 minutes a day, that's actually going to make you
Yeah,
lose muscle. And so I fell for all those
I
memes.
hate that.
Yeah. I fell for all the copes and seethes and memes. And I was like 14 to 17 years old. And I would work out every other day was my rule. But then what does that become? Oh, but I'm tired today. So it would be at most 3 times a
Yeah,
week rather than at least 3 times a week. And, I fell for the like hour at most memes. I had some like weights, old weights that my
yeah,
dad had in the basement. And I, for 3 years, I stayed 120 pounds, no matter what I did all of
yeah,
the memes and I stayed at 120 pounds. I was still skinny and I was kind of sick of it. And there's an interesting dynamic where if you're there's two like starting points. You're either starting as like the fat kid or you're starting as the skinny kid. When you're starting as the skinny kid, all the
yeah,
fat kids take every fucking excuse under the sun to try to delegitimize anything you do. So I was the skinny kid, and even though skinny isn't like ideal, to like the fat kid, it really still bothers them because on some level, like being the skinny, being not fat is still like some level ahead, I guess, especially according to the fat people.
yeah.
So the fat kids would like they would do this meme where they would like poke my shoulder or arm or something and they'd be like, dude, your muscles are fake, dude. They're soft. Like I'm poking your muscle and it like caves in. So it's like soft. So it's like not real, dude. Like,
That is
dude, your muscle
dumb.
isn't.
That is
And
dumb.
and when I was like, when you're a teenager, you're a little bit more vulnerable to things like that. So it would like bother me. Obviously, I know now. I'm just like, that's fucking retarded. You don't prance around all day flexing, you fucking idiot. And so that I fell for all those memes, but I kind of got sick of that, and I got sick of that kind of treatment. So when I was about 17, especially, I did the GF, the broken up GF arc. There was a GF I had. It was like between 10th and 11th grade. It ended tumultuously. And I had this process in my mind where I just thought, I'm 3 years into this. I'm not fucking making progress. And I'm like, I got to be honest with myself. It's because I'm not being fucking serious. This half ass 3 times a week shit. I got to do this every fucking day. And so what I did
Yeah,
was I was like, no shit. The summer is where I start this. And I finished up school and everything for the year. And I said to myself, I am going to get up every day. I'm not going to roll around. I'm not going to hit the alarm. I'm going to get up every day even if it means I almost fall down because my blood pressure or whatever, right? Sometimes that happens when you would get up in the morning. And I thought to myself, I was like, what do I need to make this stick? And you guys might have seen me talk about this or in my articles or whatever to make it stick, it had to be a real foundational grounding reason to do it beyond its consequences. And that's not to say don't use the consequences as a motivator, like get more girls, the health and everything. But I told myself this has to be uh, a a desire, an operative telos of I want to do this for its own sake, meaning that I wanted to get up and go to the gym every day,
Yeah.
whatever, because that in and of itself is what I want. The uh,
You
confidence
enjoy the
of keeping that
process.
promise to myself, and the confidence of I'm going to do what I expect of myself. And I pictured it as an angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. And I also told myself, if I'm ever going to have control over my surroundings, I'm going to have to control myself, which means that I am going to have that angel win every day. And you think about that too. That's an actual common theme amongst like the pickup artistry stuff. If you've ever come across the pickup artistry stuff, they talk about internal congruence, which means that you're not putting on an act. And I told myself, I said, if I'm ever going to have any real authentic power in my life to change the things around me, to engineer the relationships I need or the jobs, whatever it may be, I'm going to have that internal congruence, meaning that I'm going to have to have that authenticity of I do have that power internally and over myself. And you can think about it. There are people like this, right? There's these types of people who something about them is just so irksome about how inauthentic they are, in that they prance around with their head held high like a tough guy, and they think they're so fucking cool, but you could tell that they're not. Especially with the gym, these are the guys that I talk about all the time, the seething mediocrities, the seething coping poopy pants mediocrities who prance around and put on their power guy act, but they're not powerful, and they know they're not powerful because they do not have control over themselves. So all that's to say that I started with that operative telos. I did use like the goal method stuff of, I said to myself I wanted to gain 10 pounds by the end of the summer. I did, and then I told myself, why stop there? And that was literally, actually next month it'll be 12 years ago, and I never stopped. I never did the on and off thing, not to shame you guys if you have done that, but I never did the on and off thing. I never did oh well, I'm just trying to get back into it, that thing. It was always there, because uh it's foundational to your identity, to your principle, to your super ego, if you're familiar
Yep.
with that psychological stuff. So I'll let you guys say your thoughts on that for a moment there before I ramble on too long.
I just wanted to say I really
Yeah.
appreciated your point about um, enjoying or taking, I guess, pride, finding meaning in the process as much as the resolution, if not more, probably. I think for you, you found more meaning in the process than the resolution.
Precisely. Well said. Yeah.
Precisely. Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's such a huge aspect. That's such a, it's not just fitness. That point you made is a really massive point. That applies to so many other kinds of, success or excellence, in my own life. When I was doing a math degree, you know how hard those proofs can get or those problem
Yo,
sets can
base?
get
Base?
is when base when you enjoy what led me to success was enjoying the process and not just the resolution or getting the answer right or the proof or whatever, right? So it's a really that's just a really massive point. I appreciate that.
Yeah, bro, that's so awesome that you brought that up too, because that is what drew me to math in undergrad too. It was that process of literally it's brain weightlifting, especially those proofs. That's quite literally brain workouts, brain weightlifting. The way that it forces you to purely at reason in the abstract, it like I'll always say that it made me, like, have I used it directly? No. The best I got out of that for a job was I was the spreadsheet bro in an office up until about a year, for about a year, and this was only recent after I got out of the army. The job I got out of that was I was just the spreadsheet kid, basically, because everyone else in the office was like middle aged. So I was like the spreadsheet guy, the cool guy who knew how to do like tricks and spreadsheets. So I would like help the other corporate people out, and then like I would come up with some sort of half-ass bullshit idea to make things more optimized or whatever. And it wouldn't even be like the super cool math stuff. But I'll always say that it made me like, it's kind of like in a video game where, let's say in one of those let's say with training sports, right? It's kind of like you can train the direct skill in basketball of dribbling and shooting, but that doesn't make you a better athlete overall. That makes you more skilled in specifically basketball. Whereas if you're training your athleticism, your speed, your jump, your height, that makes you that broadens your skill tree to every sport. So math does that for your mind. And I'll say that one of the things it made me better at is as a speaker, is as a writer too. And so to your point, that process of rearranging your neurons to do that was the fun, because especially because you could say so many profound, like, the thing that really struck me, and this was in the beginning of the degree, and sorry if I'm going on too long, but the thing that struck me was I actually changed my major several times, and then I arrived at chemistry because I was good at it in high school. But within chemistry, I had to take, the chemistry, physics, math majors all started the same way. Everyone had to take Chem 1 and 2, Physics 1 and 2, and then it branches off. So I just started with chemistry. And what's funny is that if you were doing one of the science degrees, you didn't have to take like the hardest version of calculus, right? So there's usually something like preliminary calculus or calculus A, B or whatever, and then calculus A and calculus B. And then calc 1 and 2 at my college was like the ultimate calculus. So you could take it to fill out that prereq. So I was like, all right, I ain't no bitch. I'm going to fucking take it. And of course, it's like math is the brain version of like the fitness coping and seething, because when I told people that, or when the advisors, they were like, dude, you don't have to take that one. You could take the easier one. And I was like, okay, well, I ain't no bitch, dude. I'm just going to fucking take it. Why not? It might translate to something better. I'm here to learn too. And so as I was taking it, I, kind of rearranged my major again and finally switched it to math because I liked it better. It was going to be faster and so on. And then that following semester, I took my first proofs course. And your first proof might have been something similar. The first proof I was shown was add two odds, you always get an even. And the way the teacher brought us through that, because he told us to say what's an odd number, what's an even number, that sort of thing. The way that nobody really knew what an odd number or an even number was. And then he very rigorously and accurately and articulately defined them. With those definitions, you use them, you do the meme of adding them, you factor out the two and that sort of thing.
Yep.
And so what I then thought about was, this is it. What was so profound to me was that you were able to, just with that little bit of information, say something about the infinite set of integers specifically. At the time I thought numbers, but you were able to say something about everything. It wasn't just gay little nuanced facts about very specific slight little things. You were able to reason purely in the abstract to arrive at a conclusion about every single integer that could ever possibly exist. Numbers that we haven't even seen or anything like that. You could say something about them that will work every single time. That was the profound thing to me. And
Yes.
its relationship to fitness is indeed that both require those foundational operative principles that apply across the board, no matter what. And the use of that rationalization is so important to both, in that you develop your skill mathematically. But when I talk about this stuff about how fitness is a behavioral problem, all of this stuff is in the mind. I've talked about how, nutrition, neuroticism and stuff like that, all the gay little, very specific biophysiological facts. Fitness is not the informational problem. It is an operative principle behavior problem that starts in the mind. And if you're using your rational faculties the same way you do for math, you will indeed yield that conclusive behavior for however long the rest of your life that puts you in the gym. So I'll stop for a moment there. Uh, you know, if you guys have any thoughts.
Once you guys started speaking math, I'm going to be honest, I was terrible. I was terrible at that. So like once you guys start talking about that, I'm like, oh god. But no, but seriously, like when you were talking about your journey, it made me think that, it's like, it sounded like it was something that was a part of you, it's not like, you're using any justification. It's like, oh, I need to get buff or anything like that. It's just like, it has to be a part of your character.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm trying to do now. It's like, it needs to be a part of me. It can't just be, oh, I want to get buff or, all that stuff is great. You're getting bigger, improving your health is great. But
Yeah.
it's like and it's funny too because when I was at work, I was stocking some things and like, if it's something that I think that I can, you know, with like not with, but like, dumbbell curler, I guess you could say. I started
Hmm.
doing that and one of my coworkers called me and he kind of said, something like that. It's like, people can kind of laugh at that, but it's like once you're in it, you take it seriously. It's a part of your life. And, it's just not something that you just do. I mean, it's not, I, I guess that's just how I could say it. It's like it's a part of your soul, I guess you could say, even though that sounds lame. And, people outside of it, they don't understand. And, those types of people, they'll say, I want to get fit, I want to do this and that. And then, like you said, there'll be those same people like, oh wow, I can get really fit of just 40 minutes a day. And that sounds exciting for them because, that lets them put in less effort, right? But they still want the same results that you're getting.
Yeah, absolutely. They eternal preoccupation for people isn't about getting fit. It's about getting all of the pros of being fit without having to do anything for it. That's the real preoccupation of every last little one of these sentiments, copes, and that sort of thing, right? So, for example, the 40 minutes a day you said, right? You know, because you could go like literally every website, whatever you find, you'll find some sort of article that says, well, you only need to be healthy. You only need to work out 40 minutes a day, once a week to be healthy. And
Yep.
I always point this
Yep.
out is the careful, surreptitious thing is that let me just make sure War Torn here is invited. The surreptitious thing is the fascinating mental gymnastics. Silas mentioned math earlier. People are always crying about how math is so hard and all of that. Yet, when it comes to applying rationalism to classical cope theory, as you guys might have seen me say, they have no problem applying their 5,000 IQ uh, classical cope theory rationales for something like, oh, well, you actually only need to work out 40 minutes a day. And what's so profound about that is the surreptitious thing is they abuse these studies. They go, I have data to back this up, which of course is gay and fake and retarded. The data to back that up, the study
Yeah.
will be something like literally, oh, well, guy walked 40 minutes one time a week and then his health got marginally better. Therefore, well, he's healthy. And it's like, well, okay.
Yeah.
If you go from 0 minutes a day to 5 minutes a day, that's like linearly better, although there's really like a false linearity there because that's not actually how that works. It doesn't like it's not a summation. It's not a Greek sum, fancy Greek sum letter there. It's not a summation. So there's a false linearity, but let's even run with that linearity. Okay. That that 5 minutes a day or 40 minutes a day, whatever, 40 minutes once a week making you quote unquote healthier, that is not the same thing as being the sexed up freak beast fucking gym animal with testosterone so fucking high it just oozes out of his
Yep.
pores and every woman in the vicinity fucking catches one whiff of him and instantly gets pregnant. That's not the same fucking thing as quote unquote healthy. All right. And similarly, the same thing goes for women too. The women memes of, oh, healthier. That is not the same thing as being the fucking fertile fucking woman with the tight little waist and fat fucking dump truck with childbirthing hips
Yep.
that could fucking pop out 10 kids at once. All right. So there's a clear distinction there, but the healthy term gets abused to mean both. But isn't it interesting? They reverse engineer it. They say, oh, blah, blah, blah. This study says this means be healthier. I'm just going to take that healthy term and use it to mean, oh, I'm the sexed up freak beast. And then they go and they do that. They deny themselves that reality and they feel so strongly in their argument for the denial of that reality to say, well, look, see the facts and the data and the science says so. The empirical evidence says I'm healthy, so I am healthy. And it's like this crazy, like borderline schizoid thing of fooling themselves. But a key, like Marchese principle here is that the truth and its consequences exist irrespective of your acknowledgement of them. And that sounds a lot like this stuff we've been hearing for 10 years, like, facts don't care about your feelings. So I'm saying it a little bit differently here because that stuff is just a gay circle jerk. But like you can't fool yourself with this stuff. You can fool other people, maybe even, and they do that too. They try to say they're healthy and they say this in front of other people, and then the other people will like enable it. There's like this psychological transaction wherein if somebody says, "Oh yeah, I walk 40 minutes a day and that's healthy," and then somebody says, "Oh yeah, that's good." That sort of like bolsters it for them. That sort of provides this like evidence to them of like, see, he takes when I say I'm healthy for walking 40 minutes a week and he takes it seriously, that must mean that I do have the look because he wouldn't take me seriously if I don't have the sexed up freak beast look. Therefore, I am the sexed up freak beast, see? But you cannot fool yourself because forget even what specifically it means to be a sexed up freak beast. You cannot fool yourself in that deep down that you have not challenged yourself. You have not stayed disciplined. You have not been consistent. Walking 40 minutes one time a week is not a challenge. And you know that it's not a challenge to yourself. And you know that's not actually keeping your promise to yourself. So you'll never be able to fool yourself. You'll always have to be honest with yourself. You don't have to be honest with everyone else. You can say whatever you want, put on whatever act in front of other people, but you cannot put an act on in front of yourself. So all that's to say how it relates to what you said with the people playing the you know that game with you and everything it's interesting because authenticity also threatens people. It's when they try to bust your chops for being like that or doing curls whatever at your desk or something, they try to project that you're putting on an act because they can't imagine not putting on an act, and that authenticity just absolutely frightens them because it forces them to acknowledge that they themselves are not authentic with themselves. So I'll let you guys speak there for a moment. Let me know if I go on too long, or feel free to write down your ideas too, even if they don't follow, um, even if they don't follow from the exact conversation. If there's something that you had that was a while ago, feel free to do all that. So I'll leave that there. I gotta make sure Wartorn's good here.
Oh, and yeah, I was going to apologize for leaving and joining. My internet keeps cutting out, at least for my phone. I don't know why it's doing that, but that's why I've backed out a couple of times here.
Yeah, no sweat. You're good. Yeah, your mic is a little noisy, so to speak.
Yeah, so when I'm speaking, I'll just mute myself.
Gotcha. Let me make sure I got everyone. We have some unfamiliar faces here, so I'll invite them to speak, see what they have to say. We have Caesar here and John Nevison. Sounds like we all are mutuals here on some level, so that's good.
Okay, what are we talking about?
I think we were just talking about the sort of a lot of what I talk about, which is the authenticity problem of fitness and muscle and whatever, wherein this stuff is, a behavioral problem, not an informational problem, an authenticity problem, a problem of people coping and seething by, coming up with these memes like, oh, actually, you only need to work out 40 minutes once a week to be healthy, and the difference between being healthy versus being a sexed up freak beast. And so that's kind of like the main stuff there. I know you're pretty good on understanding the depths of the mind in this issue. So if you have any ideas
Oh,
with that.
yeah. Okay. That's actually a lot of the reasons why most diets fail, because people, they lose one time and then they're like, oh no, I failed, now I'm never gonna get better or anything. But the diets, they're supposed to become like habits, you know. If it's not habitual, then you won't ever change. So like you were saying that they just hear, oh, you just have to work out 40 minutes a day or something, and then they don't see any results, or they're like, oh no, it's never going to change, I'm always going to be fat. But they misunderstand it, because it's meant to be habitual things make changes without you even trying to make the changes.
Yeah, well, they hear that and, they just lap up, they're like, yes, yes, finally, I could look like Mike, I could look like Macavey, I could look like you guys, but without actually having to do anything. Yes, they're like so excited. I just posted in the space here, the Wojak of them when they hear something like that. It's like the other day when I posted about non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's like, dude, seriously, like just the fact that non-exercise is even in the fucking name is just like such a meme. It's like an LOL, LMAO even. I saw Caesar there. You had your hand up for a moment, so if you have something to add,
Hey, yeah, no, nice to meet you. I think my first time in one of your spaces, I just sent you a follow. I think, is it Marchese? Marchese? I'm not sure.
Marchese.
Oh, Marchese. Dope, Marchese. Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to
I'm
meet
in
you.
here because I think either Mike, I follow Mike, and Mike follows me, and I think he shared the space or something like that. And I
Let's
love it,
go.
man. I love what I'm hearing, bro. Like, damn, that's like so many of the conversations that I have about like people wanting the maximum results from the bare minimum,
Yeah,
where in reality, the lifestyle that I've adopted for years now, the is really a primordial lifestyle, because I think of our ancestors of antiquity, and I basically integrated that same mentality. It's just like we live in this sedentary, cozy ass life, and even not too far. I say ancestors, but like I got great uncles and my great great grandfathers, like who I actually knew my great grandfather, and this dude was jacked until he died,
yeah,
because he down in the Caribbean, man, he cutting sugar cane, building houses, building irrigation systems from scratch, like harvesting all his food. This dude had biceps that like people kill for in the gym, and it's just his lifestyle, man. Like that's the agrarian lifestyle, all the different archaic lifestyles that we had. Fishermen, you think of fishermen pulling that line up every single day.
yeah,
So, I live and I coach on like a compound overload lifestyle. I don't really believe in rest days and time off and all that shit. Like, I just don't.
yeah.
Why? Because I got some transformations, man, because I had an autoimmune disease. I'm 5'11" and I was down to 142 pounds sick.
Wow.
I got pictures of it, and now I'm like, I'm on a cut right now, but I'm sitting at like 217 right now. Um, and that was like within the span of like a year and a half of having to rebuild my body,
Yeah,
because I was like completely down. So I know that 2 hours in the gym is like the minimum, man. Like
yeah.
at least for me, like
Base.
2 hours in the gym minimum. If I had more time, because I operate a few businesses, so if I had more time, like it would be definitely not just my morning cardio and core, because I just do cardio and core to get that freaking energy going and
Yeah,
some spirulina in the body. If I had more time in the morning, man, I would do like 5 hours in the gym, man. I think of I think of some of my ancestors rowing boats, man, like going
yeah,
across the Pacific in the Pacific Islands. You think they had like, oh, okay, it's our rest day. We need to stop.
yeah,
Oh, we're gonna work legs now. oh no, we're gonna work back today. Nah, man, you work that whole shit every damn day. Are you kidding me? Like, you
Yeah.
fucking man. So anyway, bro, sorry, I'm not trying to dominate your space. I'm just
No, you're
excited.
good.
I
Good.
sent you a follow. I'll be happy to keep joining in on your spaces as you have them. But yeah, man, preach on, bro. I'm loving what I'm hearing, and I'm just gonna sit back here as a listener
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
chime
That
in.
was
But it's a pleasure.
well said. Yeah, I mean, oh, well, you have to weth to make so you a cover, and it's like, yeah, crazy fucking concept. But 300 years ago, like even just 300 years ago, guys were like sailing across the fucking Pacific Ocean and like spending all day doing whatever the hell else. And that also gets at something important too, right? Because this rest meme or this exercise meme of healthy and all of that, there's an important distinction there because there are guys whose job it is to just be doing shit like that for 12 hours a day. And what's interesting is that a lot of them are still fat. A lot of them still have a gut. We all know the type of guy who has the beard and is tough and everything, sure, but still doesn't have that idealized look and physique. So that speaks to how it has to be targeted in such a way that you are quite literally putting on the muscle, and it has to be targeted weightlifting. And I'll get to you, John, momentarily, and I want to bring in Chiller here because Chiller has a similar story of recovery. And you know, to your point with the rest stuff, well, firstly, you talked about that lifestyle. That's the like ultimate yield and consequence to all of this stuff. It's not the look, it's not the way you feel physiologically, it's the psychological payoff that is you lived up to your own standards, you answered to yourself, you proved to yourself that you went and you did this every single day. You won, you win the day, you defeat the id, defeat the lizard brain, you ascertain total control over yourself, and you are not dominated by your feelings and your instincts. That's what I love the most about, like, that is what keeps me with this stuff. And you mentioned like 2 hours plus, like, yeah, you can literally just keep doing it. Like, even if it's uncomfortable, you can just, like, crazy concept, but you can just like be uncomfortable or be tired and still do things. Your feelings aren't always the greatest indicator of what you're doing. And actually, in one of my recent articles, the one about, it's kind of long. It's about the sleep. One of my recent articles, I talked about how you don't actually need that much rest or sleep. There was an interesting study that I had to pull up there, and that was that it is, they did a study, and there was a difference between whether or not, I think it was mice or something like that, or whatever it was, people, I gotta pull it up here. I'll pull it up shortly. Basically, there was a difference between feeling sleepy and actually needing the sleep. And oftentimes the two do not align, like, at all. So we might feel sleepy, but that doesn't actually inform us that we actually need the sleep every single time. And sleep is like this big mystery, as I pointed out there. So that gets to that. So John is new here too. So I'll have John come in, and he had his hand up. And then I'll try not to go on too long. So John will go. I know Chiller had his story of recovery, and then we'll have War Torn.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go for too long either. I just happened to find myself here because my good friend Mike invited me. So it's actually pretty much the first time I've been in a like specifically fitness oriented space before, because usually it's mostly political one. But anyway, point being, yeah, I was just popping in to see what was the topic because I'm currently I was in training camp for boxing throughout winter and spring, but then it fell off because of some issues and I couldn't fight. But now I'm kind of in between. I'm waiting to get back at sea.
Is he rubber banding or am I tripping?
What's that?
I hear him good.
Well, my bad if the sound isn't coming right. I thought it was.
No, I can hear you, bud. You sound good. I think.
Well, yeah, I guess Caesar has technical
It's probably
issues.
me. My bad.
Yeah,
Sorry, John. Our
yeah,
apologies
no
to
worry.
interrupt. It's probably me.
No worry. No, anyway, yeah, I'm a sailor. I work on cargo ships, and I'm waiting for the to finally return for the North season. But now it's kind of in between, so I'm currently trying to not lose what I gained in the last two seasons. But Yeah, I mean, I mean, for me, sleep is definitely the biggest challenge because you were talking about habits. Food is in of itself, I don't follow particular diets. It's just I go for, quality food in decent amounts, and that's pretty much it. But sleep is such an issue because I have always been a natural night owl, and so it's not an excuse whatsoever. But
Yeah.
I mean, sleep is by far probably there also, there's no one single component that guarantees success. But sleep is certainly nothing you can replace supplement with anything else, because like with food you can supplement, and to an extent at least it kind of circumvents some damages from some bad habits. Nothing that's right, but at least
Hmm.
you can limit the damages. But for sleep, there's nothing to replace that, and it's absolutely necessary for everything. Yeah, right now that's kind of my biggest issues to solve, is to start sleeping again at night and stop living like a vampire like I used to, because I started working again. So yeah, anyway, that's pretty much it. That's what I wanted to preach, the importance of sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no shame in not winning every day, right? Because like a lot of guys get this confused, wherein they feel like not that you're doing this, but they feel like they have to self-flagellate every time you um you know quote unquote misbehave in some way or do the wrong thing. And the real answer is just the wrong things, you have to let them fade into non-existence, and the way you do that is just continuously preoccupy yourself with doing the right thing in place of the wrong thing. And a lot of these things are long battles, right? I think like for example, porn is probably going to be is one of the biggest battles for everybody. It was a battle for me for years too, but over time this stuff just like withers. It's you chip away at it every day, and some days you don't. So Chiller, you had a similar story to Caesar with recovery, wherein you kind of find it irksome. We've talked about this. You kind of find it irksome how people cope and seethe and poop their pants, and yet you have a story. By every means, your story would authorize you every excuse, but you don't take that.
Yeah, so I was always been like a fit guy, in shape, especially like, in my mid 20s. I was like, working, like I love the gym, still do, like work out 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. And then randomly just I was diagnosed, I had this like back, like this tethered cord, so I needed back surgery. And in 27 now I have chronic pain, but I mean there's still so much you can do in the gym. And like I can't like, really like squat or deadlift, but there's still, like so many other like things I could do, machines, I could get a good pump, like, and I feel like it's just kind of sad to see so many people say, oh, well, I can't do it because of X, Y, and Z, but it's just like there's pretty much, unless you're like, unless you are completely like quadriplegic, there is something you can do in the gym. You can modify your workouts. It's not, oh, I can never work out again. And I think people just have this all or nothing mentality. And I mean, I still go hard. I still get good workouts and I still make gains. So it's just kind of, a mindset thing too. And another thing I wanted to touch on is a lot of this stuff about, it seems like there's so many people that just want to just have no, like so many shortcuts, and they just hate working out. And I feel like, working out, that's the fun part. The hard part is getting, like you were saying, like the diet locked in. I mean, like more like sleeping on a schedule, all that stuff. But yeah, like working out's a blast. And I mean, I just wish more people could just realize that there's so many things you can do and there's something for everyone.
Yeah, well said. It's like like working out, like, yeah, you can just decide that working out is fun, by the way. LOL, you can just decide that that's the fun part if you don't think it's fun. Like, you can just decide that it doesn't suck, because it literally doesn't. Like, on some level, there's this deep programming in our lizard brains that tells us not to do it. For those of you guys who are unfamiliar with, my work and everything, a lot of what I talk about is the depths of our brains. I follow along with the triune brain model, which is that at the deepest level we have the lizard brain, which means it's the quote unquote the oldest part of our brain evolutionarily, meaning that we share it with every animal from the lowest level of evolution, that is lizard, to the highest level of evolution, humans. And it's really like the most basic version of a brain. It was like brain 1.0. It's like Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, the first one, wherein it has the most basic operative functions in there. influencing us to survive. And its primary vector through which to do so is feelings, and bad feelings. It solicits bad feelings in response to things that don't promulgate or facilitate our survival, and good feelings for things that do facilitate our survival and our reproduction. And one of the instincts there is the optimization of energy instinct, wherein your lizard brain wants to conserve energy as much as possible because that's how we had to exist when we were hunter gatherers. And because you didn't eat every day when you were a hunter gatherer, there wasn't access to food every day. And so if you put out too much energy more than you put in, you die. Like that's starving to death, right? So, but now that's kind of rendered obsolete, and but that still operates daily in our brains because evolution just will not catch up to industrialization. And so it still prompts those uncomfortable feelings, but the gift that is being a human, and if you're not religious, the gift that is being human is you are way more sophisticated than that. If you are religious, you understand that the gift that is being human is the free will bestowed unto us by God that is absent survival instincts that you can use to just override that survival instinct that prompts that discomfort in the gym. It'll still on some level always be there, but you can negate its power, you can neutralize its power, so to speak. So yeah, I mean the working out part, and it's both the fun part, and I always say that is the problem. You guys might have seen my recent stuff. Fitness is 80% diet, 20% training. I always say it's only 80% diet because you're giving 20% on your workouts. So I'll let somebody else speak there for a moment if anyone has some thoughts.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about sleep, and I know a lot about that stuff, and I've seen that there's huge misconceptions about sleep. Um, in like media and well, almost everywhere, people think that you have to get 8 hours of sleep consecutively. But have you guys ever noticed that when you get older, like when you start to deteriorate way too fast, they don't sleep the whole 8 hours consecutively anymore? They take naps now. Did you guys ever notice that?
Yeah, I that's happening to me. The term I've heard is polyphasic sleep, and there's even research saw that back in like ye olden days or whatever, like the Middle Ages, there's records of people talking about something called first sleep and second sleep, wherein they would wake up in the middle of the night and like go hang out for like an hour or two and then go back home and go to sleep. So yeah, absolutely. And I noticed that as I've gotten older too.
Yeah. After about 3 to 4 hours of sleep, the body starts to, not like, it doesn't regenerate as much. So technically the other regeneration is just like a waste of time technically because you aren't regenerating anymore. You're like, and when you wake up after the 8 hours, that's why you're always tired. When you take a nap after 3 to 4 hours, you're refreshed. But if you sleep the whole 8 hours, you feel like shit. I guess it's, the way that the human mind works. I mean, like when you eat a bag of chips and then you want to keep eating it until it's done. I guess it's, why, cause they say, you have to sleep 8 hours a day. So instead of dividing it through the day, you just, I might as well just sleep the whole 8 hours right now. And then that totally destroys you because it doesn't just destroy your productivity. It wastes your time.
Yeah, absolutely. I've looked a lot into that too. There's the stages of sleep and everything, and there is stages of our sleep wherein it's like useless. It's kind of like fucking off, basically. Like the actual important sleep was both REM and something else. And I've even read stories of guys who do this like kind of like based meme. There are guys who actually try this method of they deprive themselves first and then they sleep for 20 minutes once every couple hours or something. And the design there is that it's like sleeping efficiently, wherein in those 20 minutes it's like purely deep, and then they wake up and everything, and then they go back at it. And the idea is because it's efficient and because, like you said, it doesn't waste those extra 4 hours. They're just getting 4 hours every day purely of the sleep that they need. I don't know if there's all that great a background of it. The reports I've read of people doing it, they say eventually they kind of get burnt out of it. But you know, it might not wind up as 4 hours or whatever, but there's definitely a number there that you could probably pull this off with that's less than 8. So, Lenov, you have something to say there? Your hands up.
Yeah, about that text, your text about sleep. Uh, Mostly, I totally agree with it, and it actually, uh, it reading that made me realize how much I do excuse myself out of workouts just because I didn't get enough sleep, and that was just stupid. Thank you for that. But also,
Yeah.
you mentioned there how dumb normies actually never undersleep that much, and I don't think that's the case. We stare at the screens the whole day, and then lie in bed and before sleep stare at the screens, and then everyone just gets 5 hours of sleep. And five, I mean, six may be alright for many people. You have a point here, but five, and that's what how I lived for a long time. Uh, it may really deteriorate your psyche, I think. Yeah. So just as that, a little remark.
Gotcha. So you're saying that your observation is that the deprivation of sleep that most people get is actually substantive to the point of, say, less than 6 hours, say roughly around 5 hours, and you're saying that normies actually do. Despite me saying otherwise, you're saying you've observed that normies do uh, undersleep that much, and it is one of their causes of a lot of their problems. Do I have that right?
Yeah, yeah. Not that it's a good excuse not to work out. Like, if they did,
Yeah.
it will still be beneficial. But overall, it does affect them. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because normies, there is this like thing I notice amongst normies that is, if it's not, if we're kind of arriving at a middle ground here, if it's not that they're undersleeping, or if it's their sleep deprivation isn't actual sleep. If I'm saying their sleep deprivation is an actual deprivation, and you're saying that it is, I think part of it too is they like people literally that me and my wife talk to lose their fucking minds when we tell them that we like go to bed, between 8 and 10. My wife works a little late, so she really gets home at 10, so we've kind of been operating on 10. But like ideally we both like are in bed by 8 and like asleep, and then that, sets us up to be up by like 4, 4:35, whatever. Normies do not like, they literally fucking lose their minds whenever like anybody mentions that they go to bed before midnight. And I think, to your point, they probably do undersleep. There's probably half and half. Half of all normies like undersleep and sleep like the 5 hours or so because they're like, cooming on their phone all night, and getting drunk and going to gay butt sex parties. But I think, and then I think there's probably another half of normies that they proclaim undersleeping, but it's really like, 7 hours instead of 8, and then they use that as a cope to not work out there. So, Wartorn, you have something to say?
Yeah, I wanted to say something. Okay, so when you exercise, I'm going to try to simplify this as much as I can. When you exercise, you break down the muscle fibers, and when you go to sleep, if you have a good diet, the only thing you have to regenerate is your musculatures, right?
Yeah, see, from what I looked up for my article, actually, everything that really anybody talks about with sleep or anything that they've observed with sleep has a lot more so to do with the brain. And that is partly because the muscle recovery is autonomous. And one of the things I found in there is that muscle recovery also happens during what they call restful awakeness. But it stands to reason, just it certainly is a rational conclusion to say that probably I don't see why that wouldn't happen during sleep. But whether or not that's like the primary thing that goes on in sleep, I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, so like I'm trying to say this. So normies have really terrible lifestyles, right? A normal person, let's say like Marchese, he would lift, and when he regenerates, when he's going to sleep, he would regenerate his brain and his musculature, maybe his bone structure a little bit. But
Yeah.
normies don't have that. See? Normies, they have an excess of things. So it's not just their muscles, their brain, their bones that are trying to regenerate. It's their liver, their lungs, their stomach, because of
Yes.
the things that they consume. So like, let's say if they want to regenerate that, you would have to have even more sleep, but you can't over regenerate in a day. There's a limit to how much you can regenerate. That's why I'm telling you, like after 3 to 4 hours, it's a waste of time because the body doesn't say, oh, I'm going to regenerate this much. It would be a loss because it can't. It needs time. Like when you exercise, you have time. So you recover, but the recovery phase also needs time to recover. I would say, cause like if it over recovers, then problems of cancer arise. That's what the body tries to do. There's always a thing that the body does to prevent over, well, like, like overdoing something. So it becomes a problem. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. You're getting at fundamental biological process here in the body, and that is the body like hates the prospect of building more than it has to. It is that efficiency, it is that operative efficiency metric that the body does, and this replicates in both sleep, muscle, and even with broken bones, right? So broken bones, the body takes a broken bone as a signal that it needs to strengthen it. And so then when your bone repairs in that spot, and this is noticeable, that spot will have a little extra bone on it, the spot where it broke, rather than up to the normal bone, diameter or whatever. But it's like, just like with muscle, if it doesn't keep breaking, the body's not going to keep repairing it. So eventually to keep up that extra bone would be inefficient. So eventually the body just lets it wither down. And that goes for muscle, right? If you don't use it, you lose it. It's a survivalist response, honestly, to your environment. Your environment is now that you exert your muscles such that they need to be bigger to accommodate whatever it is. I don't even know, to accommodate the lactic acid or to accommodate something in the environment. However, bigger muscles accommodates the weightlifting, and so it's the body's survivalist response of prepping for that harsher circumstance. But if you don't subject yourself continuously to that harsher circumstance or an increasingly harsher circumstance, it doesn't want to keep that up because it takes a lot to keep that up. And so similarly to your point with sleep, and this is true too of bodybuilders. Bodybuilders actually do sleep quite a lot. Like the huge guys, they sleep quite a lot. And it's kind of funny. They get made fun of. I see people somewhere online, girls were talking about what it's like to date a bodybuilder. And one of them said, they're basically just a bunch of big babies because they sleep and eat all day. And it's like, that kind of is true. And it's funny in that the working out actually provides a stronger mandate for sleep, but simultaneously you're also functioning better and more. Your gears are better oiled, such that you need more sleep, but you're also better at sleeping. And to finish off, what you said about normies, in a way, don't need as much sleep, but at the same time, because they're fucked up and retarded, they also are they don't have to recover their musculature as much, but to your point, they have to recover like their organs and everything else much more so. So you go ahead.
Okay, using your example, okay, the the breaking the bone thing. Let's say normally in your day-to-day life, regeneration to your bones just from walking and everything is about 50% increase, right? But
Yes.
if you break the bone, then the increase will be about 200%.
Yeah.
right? So, but if it's 200% for too long, then overcalcification happens. And if it does happen, then the bones become brittle and it doesn't properly heal. You get me?
Gotcha. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So to your point is that there's forget even a lower return on investment. It just becomes counterproductive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that goes for sleep absolutely too. I mean, quite literally, people talk about how sleeping too much is a symptom of depression. A lot of the things with the body and mind are symbiotic, meaning that your body affects your mind, but your mind also affects your body. So if you just fuck off and sleep all day, you're going to induce depression into yourself. Similarly, if you are depressed, your behavior replicates it. So, uh, all that's to say that there's a counterproductivity to indulgence and indolence. And, it's interesting that we're designed that way because every cell in our bodies tells us to indulge and fuck off as much as possible. But, you reach a point where it's counterproductive and counter healthy. So there's like this balancing act. And as far as sleep and weightlifting go, to your point, the sleep is it becomes that. I mean, if you ever wear a sleep tracker or something, you'll see that most of your sleep is kind of like fucking fucked off and like bullshit. So maybe that's the new meme. Maybe we'll all after this try the meme of sleeping like 3 hours a night and then 20-minute naps scattered throughout the day.
Sorry, I keep talking, but it's just that I know a lot about this stuff.
Yeah.
Another thing that it reminds me of is the meth heads, they stay up for like 3 days and then they go to sleep for like 3 days and,
Yeah.
they die really early because of those habits, because of the regeneration. And most times it's because of cancers, and the 200% regeneration for that long will actively kill you.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, you're it's kind of like being revving the RPMs on the car between 6 and 7,000 like all the time. Eventually that just breaks everything down. You just can't. There's meant to be like a stability state. There's meant to be a stability, and you push it a little bit beyond your limits every time. And there's a problem I have amongst a lot of guys, particularly when I was in the army. When I talk about, you actually have to challenge yourself and everything. A lot of these guys, and it's interesting how articulate and specific you have to be when prescribing workouts or something like that. Because I would tell these guys, listen, like you guys you're not sufficiently challenging yourselves. And then like the next day, one guy will tell me, he like ran sprints across the gym for like 4 hours, and then he did curls until like he couldn't move his arm and all that. And I'm like, okay, no, like I don't mean torture yourself. It just means you got to push yourself beyond your limits honestly and earnestly. And it does have to be targeted. A lot of people, too, with weightlifting think that it is a matter of the more, like this false linearity of more burn is better. So they think that if they do endless 10-pound curls, well, it burned more. So therefore, I must be doing more. I must be building more muscle. And that's not actually how that works. There's actually very specific targeting mechanisms in the body. So you go ahead.
Yeah, sorry I keep talking. I'm
No, you're good.
serious.
It helps me, by the way. You guys say your ideas. It helps me because as long as I could go, a lot of times I also do run out of ideas. So you guys speaking also prompts the ideas and keeps everything going. So by all means,
Well, here's an idea. Rich Vienna, 8-hour arm workout, god damn it. Whatever it takes, babe.
that's right. Yeah, true. Actually,
Pump these fucking arms for 8 hours straight. That's how you get the gains, bro.
yeah, real. Actually,
But like, when I used to work in construction, a lot of the people that were new, they would try to work the whole 8 hours or 12 hours, and then they would screw up their body. And a lot of the older people, they would work and then rest and then work and then rest and then work and then rest. And then the people that did that, the ones that did the resting, like let's say 5 minutes and then all that stuff, they would get way more gains than the people that would just continuously keep working. Because like, even if you see the end result of the people that are working out, you don't see when they get home and they're like, oh, my joints hurt.
Yeah.
Because the ones that always said, my joints hurt, my bones hurt, are the ones that didn't understand that their body said, hey, I'm tired. You should wait like 5 seconds or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. There's something to that within the gym in and of itself too. A lot of dorks try to come up with this tact of the exact amount of time you're supposed to spend between sets such that you will yield greater gains or whatever. The optimal hypertrophy for between sets. I've never timed my between sets. It's if my target set range for the weight that I'm doing is 6 to 8 reps, wherein 6 to 8 is the most I could get, and you know that's really the only standard. I rest between sets enough such that I could get that 6 to 8 again, and like it is kind of like a go by how I feel thing, which people want to turn that into a cope. But if you're honest with yourself, you won't turn that into a cope, and you'll know when you're ready to get up and go at it again. Um,
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of, as we're talking about Rich Piana, he was big on instinctive training rather than like, what he felt. Like, I think you have to be very like, disciplined to do that, but I've had luck with it. Just, I mean, obviously, work all body like parts like equal and don't be like skipping like certain parts, but like what you're in the mood to work
Whatever
out
it
and what
takes,
you're
god damn it.
yeah, exactly. What's like what feels good is sometimes like the best way. And I don't know. I've always been a big, I've been someone that's really into listening to your body and just kind of like Wartorn said, like resting here and there, and then so you can, like go harder and you don't just burn out.
yeah, absolutely.
90%, yeah. 90% of the time, like a lot of people, they're like, I don't want to go to the gym, right? But it's just like, cause you're lazy. But there's a difference between you feeling lazy and your body telling you to stop. A lot of the times we don't listen to our body when they're like, hey, you should stop. Like, cause when you get to, everybody wants to be like, yeah, I'm going to work out the 2 hours or the 5 hours or whatever. But there comes a time when your body tells you, hey, you need to stop, and you need to understand when it is telling you to stop and not just being lazy. Because a lot of the times when like you get headaches or like your joints hurt or stuff like that, that's things you're not supposed to ignore. And a lot of people do ignore that. And then ignoring that one time is going to cause you an injury, and it's going to be a whole lot worse in the long run.
Yeah, and I think not to always shit on people and everything and call everything classical cope theory, but I think there are people who do play this psychology game wherein they intentionally make the workout like they know that when somebody says work out and challenge yourself, blah blah blah, it's almost like a Freudian slip thing wherein they intentionally exhaust themselves to the point of like throwing up or something so that they can then say, oh, I don't know, I tried that, it doesn't work for me, so I guess I can't really be working out like that workout stuff, that's crazy, that doesn't make any sense, why would I do that? That's not good for you, dude. Like to be, it hurts your joints and everything. You're gonna get hurt. You're gonna hurt your back. Actually, I always tell the young guy. You ever come across an old fucking idiot in the gym? He's like, listen, you young guys, you can't be lifting so much weight like that. Cause let me tell you something. I was a young guy like you too. I was a little knucklehead and I, wanted to lift weights and I wanted to be tough and I hurt myself, and the hurt in question is like
Sounds like Joey Soprano.
one time they deadlifted 225 and like they felt the slightest little ache in their fucking whatever, like glute. And all of a sudden it's, they hurt their back such that they could never do that again. So then they say, you got to make sure you go light, because the light really builds the muscle and that way you don't hurt yourself. And it's like the light in question is like repping 135 on fucking deadlifts. It's like, dude, give me a break. So, Lenov, you go ahead.
Yeah, this is very prominent, especially if, some people start their fitness journey on the father side. Some are skinnier. I was skinnier, and every fucking piece of shit of these gym, how you call them, coaches, who don't know anything they're talking about.
Yeah.
Everyone says, you're going too heavy, you're going too heavy. And by the way, to the credit of, you remember that guy, Mike Israel? He always said that bending your back on deadlifts is actually not that bad.
Yeah.
And it is not that bad. And my back is like better than ever. And I always, I never encourage that in myself to be too strict with deadlifts. And I think sometimes it's just gatekeeping. They
Yeah.
gatekeep my fucking gains from me. So I don't get big and they don't get embarrassed. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that absolutely. That's so true. People will it's like crabs in a bucket, or it's like literally women. Women are always trying to make each other like tear each other down in that way, wherein you're deadlifting and all that. They get jealous. They cope and seethe and poop their pants. They find it threatening to their ego, the way that they identify themselves, that you're putting up more weight than they are and doing it relatively easily or something. And so rather than bring themselves up, the easier thing to do, the optimization of energy, is to bring you down. And so they'll cope and seethe and they'll poop their pants and they'll literally try to influence you to stop doing that by saying something like, you're going to hurt your back, and it's like, according to what? Every time they play that meme, I'll be like, according to what? And they'll come up with some bullshit that they just like is programmed in their mind, like, well, you're not supposed to round your back, and it's like, okay, you know, there's actually a lot to it, wherein rounding the top of your back is like the design of the spine is the top half of your back is rounded, actually. So that's kind of going to be there. You're not supposed to round your lower back,
The
and
lumbar spine, yeah.
the slight rounding is not the same thing as injurious rounding. And to your point, don't try to be so strict on form. Uh, you know, on some level, part of what it means to challenge yourself with the weights is to go so high in weight such that your form is a little bit compromised. At the start of any new weight, whether it's adding 10 pounds, 20 pounds, your form is going to be slightly compromised. And that's part of the work. That is part of the work of doing that additional weight. So, John, you go ahead and then Wartorn.
Yes, no, I would just want not to be artistic or nothing, but just to follow up on what you just explained. So yeah, the thoracic spine. So not only, I mean, you said that there's a natural curvature, that there's that, but it's also the way the back musculature, the whole posterior chain for that matter, it's well the back, sorry, it's not only it can round and not cause an injury, but it's the musculature is designed to support that and gets reinforced by it. So the lumbar spine should stay neutral, obviously, but even then, there are exercises that are obviously supposed to be done control, like Jefferson curl and whatnot, where you are purposely even rounding the lumbar spine, but then it must be much more a much more careful approach. Obviously, you don't put freaking 400 pounds on the barbell doing that. But even then, yeah, the spine is supposed to be mobile. But probably the best possible example would be is obviously that where none of us are this guy, but Konstantin Konstantinov, rest in peace, was probably the best example of an absolute elite deadlifter, probably one of the best deadlifter in modern time, who used a very interesting technique because he was a super heavyweight, so obviously quite tall, so quite a long distance to travel with the bar, and he then do all the sumo bullshit, and he used the upper rounding of the back quite efficiently, and as a result, even compared to other deadlifter, like a ridiculous upper back and mid back, and all the traps and the spinal erectors were insanely developed as a result of that. So obviously you have I would say to begin with, when you just started deadlifting, you should aim for a fully neutral spine, so as straight as possible. But as you go on, then you should allow some more rounding and rounding, because at the start you will be too weak to properly use that technique without injuring yourself, I would say. But as you go on to strengthen your whole posterior chain, posterior chain, sorry, you then you should indeed more and more start to adapt to that kind of technique and imitate what the greats like Konstantinov did back in the day. And yeah, by the way, for now who doesn't know these big names, you should look it up. That the man was not only was an elite athlete, but his interview with Kirill Sarychev a few years ago before he died was his absolute goal. Like the guy, these guys aren't just elite because of their muscle; they're elite because of their mindset and knowledge. So that's it's always something to keep in mind. It's a false dichotomy that you're brain or brawn. That you can have both. So yeah. Just study those. Study what the great one are doing, and usually it's going to yield pretty decent result.
Absolutely, well said, dude. That meme perfectly you just posted perfectly encapsulates all of this. Well done.
Yeah, sorry, that was just a bit of a shit posting because obviously most of what's in that iceberg memes. But by the way, I know it's quite a long one. So usually it's her long meme equals whatever leftist bullshit or whatnot. But in many instances, actually, a long meme can be a good one. So it's just like something like this one. It's supposed to be because it's an iceberg tier meme template. But just so we're clear, for anyone who's gonna go on to inflict that upon themselves to go through all of it, most of what you see there is just for shits and giggle. It's not supposed to be taken as advice. So don't go chugging a gallon of blood a day because that is a meme. All right,
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
not
yeah.
a
I saw
technique.
pooping 3x12.
Yeah, and do not apply Tiger Balm to your balls. That's a big mistake. Big mistake. Please don't.
Yeah, well, I mean, that speaks to the level that people take all of this stuff, like making like it's so neurotic, making it like it's some sort of elaborate biochemistry. Especially these types. This actually is funny because this brings up another thing that I've talked about a lot. You see on the right there are some guys that you listen to, and all of that. Well, actually, they're all kind of funny. These are funny guys, but one I think about was I had a couple friends a few years ago that were turbo neurotic about all of this, and um, their neuroticism followed from following Derek from More Plates, More Dates. And first of all, people do this really cringe thing of having a parasocial relationship with fitness influencers. And they're further playing this psychology game wherein they think that if they call the fitness guy by his first name and talk about the things that he talks about as if they had that conversation, they're playing this psychology game where they quite literally are trying to be fit by association, I call it. They think that by being friends with the gym guy, somehow it's going to, rub off on them that they're going to be fit too. It's kind of like, well, if I'm friends with that guy, that lends credibility to the idea that we have similar lifestyles. And even though I do not fucking work out like this guy does, or know anything like this guy does, the fact that I'm friends with him must imply that, well, I must be as cool as him, or I must be tolerable to him, which must mean that I am on his level. And of course, but what always fucking happens is they do not have the actual results that follows. And the neuroticism is another version of that, wherein they're talking about all these different specific facts and all of that. And I saw this when I was in college because my school had a popular exercise science program. And one of the layers to that was these people would sign up for the exercise science program almost as if to say, well, if I can talk about this stuff with the science, if I can run my fucking mouth and act like I know what I'm talking about and know what I'm doing, and that must imply that I am fit. If I'm saying all this stuff on how to get fit and I know it, I only know it because I know it from my biochemistry degree or whatever. But if I'm saying it, they carefully they try to sneak in there or try to sneak the impression onto you that they know it, which implies that they apply it. And it just goes to show how the depths of what a behavioral problem this really is, wherein they insist on eternally trying to get it all without doing anything. I saw your hand up, War Torn, but you just sent me a DM saying it's crashing. So if you can speak, go ahead. If not, I'll try to fix that. Yeah, it's looking like it.
Your voice is crashing, you sir? I can hear you clearly.
No, Wartorn, it said he's, let me try removing him from co-host because he said he was, Twitter keeps crashing. It was crashing the past few days, huh? That was kind of gay.
I think they're getting cyber attacks, man. The liberals are going after them.
Yeah, something like that. Or whatever. It's probably Mossad.
Is the Indians.
Yeah, or the Indians.
They're pissed at the failure of the H1B1 plan, and now they're retaliating. You know, they 1+ billion. They have the manpower. You know, they might be worth 1/4 of a normal man, but with all that mass population, they can make it up for it. So
Okay, I think I'm back.
Yeah, you're back.
yeah,
Okay, you always say you have to push yourself, Marchese, right?
Yep.
100%.
Yeah.
So if your form never breaks down, then you obviously aren't pushing yourself because form only starts to break down when you start pushing yourself.
Yeah, well said. Yeah. That's very precise, very accurate.
yeah. Don't go deadlifting to failure though. That's kind of a recipe for disaster. But you know, for the rest, well, or it depends. Like if you're really maxing out, that's kind of risky. But if you're just doing like lower intensity, but like something like squat stuff, that one will, you know, that don't go to failure if you're not in a rack.
Well, obviously, like, you want to stay within the form. Like, what I mean is, you want to try to keep form, but if you struggle a little bit and it breaks down a little bit, it's not a big deal. That's when you know you're working. Not like ego lifters that break down all the form. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Lenov, you go ahead. I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, it's
What were you
actually
saying about
okay.
India? What were you saying about India?
That
You're
they
saying that they're
that they stink and worship cows. That's what we were saying or more.
Listen, average grunt. I'm asking, what are you talking about India?
we're talking. Oh, we got one. He's gonna attack us, guys. He's
Yeah, of
on the
course I
code right
am. What
now.
were you
Their
talking about India?
initial
Okay,
and
what were you talking about
fingertips
India?
swinging.
Yeah,
Initial and
yeah.
fingertips flinging.
John, you can't even answer a simple question like how tall are you? Shut the fuck up. Nobody gives a fuck
Yeah,
about
right.
your
Said
opinion.
the
Okay.
5'3" guy. I already
Bro's
cleared that
triggered.
up. You're shorter than
I
my
am very
mom. My mom
comfortably
is bigger than
six
you.
feet tall. Okay, I can put my picture in the jumbotron right now. I'm
Be
6 feet
careful,
tall.
Literally
Okay.
you might ask for Bob
flexing
in the
Okay,
too.
gym.
okay.
I
Post
remember last
physique.
winter you said you're
I
5'3" and
mogged
I was
my
worried.
phenotype, bro. I got lucky in the genetic lottery. I
Oh yeah,
mogged my
sure, dude.
phenotype.
Uno
Okay, I'm
Ogun
44 years
Thunderstrike.
old. Yes, sir. I am white, so I'm right, sir. I am white, so I am right. You are brown, so you are wrong. Okay? I understand that logic very well. Okay? It's not a very big thing to deal with. I
Oh,
am
you
right. I am white. I am white. I am right. You are brown. You are wrong. Okay? I know how you think. Okay? You low IQ runt.
What
So
the
what were you
fuck?
talking about India?
Bro is so
What were
triggered
you
because
talking
we
about
made the
India?
slightest. Bro is literally melting down because we made a slight joke that Indians work at X and they're gonna whatever. They're just like fucking with the code. Like we didn't.
No,
It's
no,
like
bro.
the most
I
innocuous
am not.
joke,
No,
and
no.
bro is
It
melting
has
down.
nothing to do with what you said. I was not
the
even able
power
to
of
catch what
number,
you were
dude.
saying. All I heard when I jumped in the space, you were talking about something about India. I don't understand the context at all. So I just asked, what are you saying about India? That's all I said. And John and me, we have a
We
earlier
were saying
vendetta.
that
So
India is gonna be superpowered by
me and John, we have known each
keep
other for
us
almost 10
Pogba.
months now. Okay. John is a limp dick, small
Superpower
heighted
is
man.
now.
And, Arthur is an amazing guy. So, okay. It's okay. There are tons of Mike is in the space, John is in the space. These are my brothers. We have a love and hate relationship, so it's okay. Don't worry about it.
What about me, Arthur?
Bogi, I love you, man. How is life in Montenegro right now? Have you tried to move out? Are we trying to move out from there? And Bogi, have you become a millionaire?
No, I'm in Bosnia at the moment, so I'm not in Montenegro.
Based.
Sarajevo.
But
Wait,
you made
Montenegro.
millions, right? Are you millionaire? Yes or no? Because Bitcoin is already
He doesn't need to.
1009, so you must be
That's none of
millionaire
your
now, Bogi.
business.
Boki has become a millionaire. Okay. Proud of you, Boki. Proud of you.
Yeah, I never talk about that stuff ever, man. That's how
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get
yeah,
yourself
yeah,
cyber
yeah,
attacks.
yeah,
That's how
yeah.
you get.
Actually,
That's how you get targeted.
yeah.
Post how much money you have on the internet. Watch how quickly people start targeting you. They'll get you real quick.
I get it.
They'll
I
do.
get it.
You know what they'll
Let's
do?
not talk about
They'll
this
do the
one.
old SIM swap
Boki,
attack on you. They'll
Boki
get
is
your
my
cell phone
dear
number and
friend.
break into your
He's from
exchanges and wallets.
he's basically from New York, but he got tired of U.S. taxation system, so he moved out from New York to Montenegro and then made $1 million. Right now, I don't know where he is because he always never tells you. But I'm telling you, this is a motherfucking self-made millionaire. Man, I have a lot of respect for guys like these. Like a lot of respect for Boki. Motherfucking runt.
Thanks.
Oh man, I couldn't even tell you half of it because it's not good for me saying
Yeah,
stuff
I can
like that.
understand. We'll talk about it on a cup of coffee, not using technology, face to face someday maybe, okay? Maybe 5, 10 years from now, when you become $10 million or $100 million man. Maybe I will just borrow your couch to fuck 3, 4 women, okay? And won't even pay for cleaning. It's like, that will be great.
All right,
Proud of
so
you,
we're
Bookie. Proud
talking
of you.
about ego lifting. What do you guys think about the Eric Bugenhagen? Does he has
About what? About what?
we're before you came in, we're mostly talking about fitness, bro.
Fitness. Oh man, I don't go to the
Lifting
gym.
shit.
I think the best way you can stay fit is masturbate 5 to 6 times a day. That will keep you fit all the time.
Very
Like that's
Indian
what I
state.
do. Yeah. You wake up, you masturbate, then you have a cup of coffee and some snack, then you masturbate, then you go to office, then you masturbate in your office, then when you're leaving office, then you again masturbate, then you come to home, then you watch some porn and again
Well, that's a
masturbate
great
and
way
go
to
to sleep.
kill.
No, I think I
That's
think I
actually a
think
great way to
seven
kill
times. Earlier I was masturbating 9 times a day, but I think the optimum number is 7 times. Like, it took me 20 years to figure that out. Like, you don't masturbate endlessly. I think the right number is 7 times a day. Like you need to masturbate 7 times a day. I know it can be hurtful.
Some
It
Arthur, I have
real.
a question for you. So when
This
you
is
talk
real
about
right
your
here.
masturbating 9 times a day, are you just beating it 9 times a day, or are you busting a nut 9 times a day?
what's
Oh
the
yeah. Are you
difference?
edging? How
failure.
much edging a day?
Yeah, correct. In fitness term, are
What
you
is the
achieving
question? Like,
failure?
I don't understand this terminology. Like, you take your dick, you put some mustard oil on it, and you just start jerking off, and you just come, and then you clean it with your jizz rag. Like, you have this jizz rag hidden behind your laptop, like, so that your mom won't find it. So you have to hide it, and you keep
So
on,
achieve
you
failure
just
when
clean
you're
yourself.
spanking the monkey. Got it.
So no
Hmm.
edging. No edging
Edging,
allowed.
what is edging? What is edging? Explain it to me. I don't understand what you're
Edging
saying.
is beating it, but without nutting.
Beating
Yeah,
it
that's
without.
Arthur. That's
Achieving failure.
when you're in the edge of like busting your load, but you don't do it. You just continue to
Oh
like
no, I
you
bust
stay
my load
close.
7 times a
You
day. I
stay
want,
close.
no,
You
no,
stay
no, no.
close,
I
but you
have to
don't
come
finish.
every
That's what it
time.
is.
You need to come. And when you start the day, the cum is extremely thick and white, but at the end of the day, it's just like, liquid soap, like, it's just not very white because, you've been masturbating. Then you again, woke up early in the morning, then this again, 2 drops of white comes come out. So anybody who is against gooning, I think they're stupid. I think men should goon at least 6 to 7 times a day. 7 times is the proper number for me. From your physicality, your height and weight, it will be a different number. But for me, nine was actually too tiring for me. So when I found I did 3, but I felt like unsatisfied. But when I did 7, it was the right number for me. Amazing feeling, 7 times a day. But now I'm an old man and I'm dying now. I'm 44 years old. So I'm dying now, but it was fun to masturbate. I think I would have masturbated like 30,000 times in my life. And I think if I've collected all that cum, it will like it would have filled a drum. Hmm.
Did you track it?
Proud
Did
of
you put it
myself.
on a spreadsheet?
I did try to. I was sitting with my girlfriend and I said, and she was like, Arthur, let's do a calculation. Like how, and I said, I
Arthur, did you ever
masturbate
think about
on
trying to sell that? Like that one girl who was selling her farts in the jar?
no, no, never, 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 never. I will never do such stupid thing. My cum is, the only place my cum is going is down the drain. I will never reproduce, man. I'm an antinatalist. I'm Schopenhauer's child. I will never reproduce. The only place that cum belongs to
No,
is
no.
either down the throat of a woman or in the toilet. That's all. Okay. Either she drinks it either she has to, just swallow my sperm or I will just, throw it down the toilet. I'm not reproducing in this lifetime. What the fuck? This place is not for good people. Fucking asshole universe. Why was I even born, man?
Alrighty. Well, anyway.
One of the most craziest experience I had once. I met this 8 chick, like she was an 8, and she was 5'11", sexiest motherfucking bitch you will ever see in your life. Amazing ass and tits. And the way she sucked my dick, like I fucked her like 3-4 times over the night. But you know what happened when she was asleep? I woke up at 4 a.m. and then again I went down and then masturbated. Because, it's just like, I'm so used to masturbating. Even bitches don't feel like sexy anymore. Like, I just love masturbating. I just love.
Spoken like a true gooner.
Isn't there a
Proudest
name for
gooner,
that shit when
proudest,
when you beat off
proudest
too much and
gooner
you can't blow a load and
ever.
having sex?
No, I see. I have no shortage of pussies in my life, but jerking off is a special, man. Like, you are with yourself. You don't have to worry about shit. You just, take some lube into your hands. You just take your dick and you just think about whatever you think about, and you just jerk off. And you can put your AC on, and after you have jerked off, you just clean yourself. Maybe take a shower. I don't like taking showers. I did take a shower 2 days back after 7 months. I just don't like water. So I'm an Indian. I like to be unhygienic. And so, so you just, take your jizz rack, clean yourself off. And, but I'm telling you, nothing beats gooning off. And no bitch in this world can, beat gooning off, man. See, you go through all these troubles. You go to the gym, become a better person, get a good job, then you buy a house, then you pay the mortgage, then you get a wife, then you get a job. See, why go through all that, man? And you can just buy a tube of lube, just switch on some porn, jerk off, and get on with it, man. Who gives a fuck about all these things? But no, I need to have a family. Only losers need family. Real men can live on their own. They're like tigers living alone in the jungle. Man, sure, what a waste of life.
This is
Oh, let's talk
this is
about let's talk about
the
love.
duality of man in this space right here. We were just talking about the polar opposite of that, and then this guy comes in guns ablazing with the classical gooner philosophy here.
Buddy, I have nothing against a relationship, but I'm from India, and I'm telling you, India has less than 1% divorce rate. You know why marriages work in India? Because in India, people don't talk about, no, expectations. People work very hard. The only thing that can make a relationship work is sacrifice. You have to choose. Do you want the relationship to work? Yes or no? And the moment you say yes, you have to sacrifice everything that you are. Your entire motive is to make the relationship work. But in your culture, you are filled with expectations, and that's why, and nobody is willing to sacrifice even an iota of brains or even a pubic hair. They are all about, oh, this is what I want, this is my understanding, this is my expectation, I want him to do this, I want. No, 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 that's not how relationship go. Relationship, if I'm in a relationship, I will sacrifice everything to make it work. Everything. Okay. I'm in a good relationship with my family. Okay. So I sacrifice everything. I can come to the West, start a company, sell some financial products, make $1 million a year. Very easy. But no, my purpose is what? Taking care of my family. So that is a sacrifice I make. Okay. Once my family is gone, once my mom is gone, my father is already dead. So my mom will be gone, or maybe, she will stay with me for 20 years. I don't know. I hope she lives, I die before her. No man wants to see her mom die before her. So anyways, I'm telling you, relationships are not, the foundation of relationship is compromise and sacrifice. If you can do those things, and Western men are very comfortable with it. As a matter of fact, Western men do compromise and sacrifice a lot. Western men, white men specifically, they put up a lot of effort in relationships. They give up certain things. They give up even their personal likeness, liberties, and whatnot to make the relationship work. But white women, they have no respect for that. In 2025, white woman would rather fuck a German Shepherd than a white man, because you have become cucks, and they don't respect you anymore. And the moment you accept the fact, you will move on in life. But if you don't do it, and you can say, oh, motherfucking Indian is gonna teach me about all this shit, this fucking Indian to be Indian, blah 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 blah. I'm telling you, it's not gonna work that way. The moment nobody gives a fuck what a woman thinks or says. Hamadara, my mom is knocking on the door. Hamama.
What he's saying about relationships is actually an analog for the fitness stuff too, wherein a lot of people think a relationship similar to the fitness stuff. It really is the eternal a compulsion of people to try to get anything and everything for nothing, especially in relationships. Me and my wife notice this amongst people all the time. And this is kind of like, we notice this amongst women, wherein they think that the part about men courting women, they think that means that they think that means to just sit around and just wait. And while women aren't, the design of courtship isn't that women make the first move, they also have to make themselves present. But even that is terrifying for them, just to make themselves exist in front of other people. It's terrifying to them to get that sort of. Leno, that's
I will
funny.
tell you, I will tell you, I will
Hang on
tell
one
you
sec.
in a very
Hang on one
simplistic.
sec. And so it is this deep fundamental human nature to be totally preoccupied by and enslaved by the fears and feelings like that, especially feelings of putting yourself out there, or putting yourself to, in women's case, in positions where they can be courted. Even that still feels to them like it's a ton of effort, or it's too much, or it's terrifying, because what if you don't get hit on? Then you're going to feel rejected or ignored. So you go ahead, Wartorn.
Yeah, you can still have expectations and sacrifice and everything, but I mean, most of the days media is portrayed so like, oh, I have to have the best, the best, the best. So people are like encouraged to seek out the best, and they believe
No,
themselves to be the
I
best
will tell
even
you.
though they're not the best.
You guys are intelligent kids. You guys are very intelligent. I think your understanding is good. Okay, so I will not question that. But the points you are making are actually Boki will understand. You are right. I understand from your perspective. You are right. My perspective is entirely different. I think you should come from first principle. Love yourself, respect yourself, have ego, have self-esteem. And bitches come and go. Okay. So that is the first thing. You don't have to give them importance. Doesn't matter what a bitch has to say. I don't give a fuck what a bitch has to say. If she's not in love with me, if she's not a part of my life, I don't know, care. Let's see, understand the distinction. When I say I don't give a fuck what a bitch has to say, I'm not saying that I don't care about somebody's opinion. But what I'm saying is that if that bitch is not my wife, if she is not my girlfriend, if she is not the mother of the child, why should I give a fuck about a woman who is yapping
So
on the internet? Why should I give it a fuck? You are not
let,
sucking.
let, give,
I,
give me a
the
second.
only the only bitch I give a fuck about is the bitch who is sucking my dick. All other
Give
bitches
me a
are
second.
useless to me.
Yo, hold on. When I say expectation, I don't just mean expectation of other people. I also mean of yourself. So if somebody that is like, let's say, doing something to you and you don't like it, you would have to say, no, I'm not interested, or shut the fuck up, or stuff like that. You know what I mean? I'm not just saying expectate, like Marchese always says, you have to believe in yourself. And if something or somebody is
Do
doing
you
something that you don't believe in,
do you
or
understand do you understand the concept of shit test? Do you understand the concept of shit test?
yeah, I know that they do that. I know. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If they do
So,
that, then
you
obviously,
as a man, it is your own responsibility. The moment she does that for the first time, you put in her place. Okay. That bitch, don't you dare do this to me ever again. Okay. Spit on her face. Phew. And practically do it, not just metaphorically. Listen, you are nothing to me. How dare you? I'm a man. How dare you? And once you do that, she will know that you are that kind of man, and she will always love you for that. But men fail to do that. This female, feministic pandemic that's going on, it is, somebody, people, it's a very vulgar term, and I don't agree with this, but it is true in certain regards that, weak men have allowed women to become so opinionated. I don't mind women having economic power, political power, financial power, and them because I don't mind all those things. What I'm saying is that, see, men become intelligent, but they don't disrespect women. Because I have a mother who I love very much, love very much, respect her. I have a sister who I love very much, respect her. And I have sister-in-laws. I have tons of women, my friends, and I respect them all. So, but what happens is that with certain kind of most women, the moment they get power, they just think that they can make everyone, they lose respect for their fellow beings. It is a common phenomenon that's going on. Because the first time in human history in the last 20 years, because of technological evolution, they have economic power, they have their own money, and now they treat every single man like, no, this is how I'll phrase it. The bitch will lick a criminal's cum off of the floor, but she will hate a decent man for wearing a blue checkered shirt and a khaki trouser. So this is the level of women right now. So be careful, tread carefully, don't fall into a trap. A caution is the best motivation. Okay. Nobody is stopping you. And there are tons of good women out there. I'm not blaming all the women. I'm just saying the media portrays women in a negative light, only those where they can get some engagement. So there are tons of amazing women who I talk to. Then I invite them to social media as I come to my spaces. They say, no, 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 no. I have a good life. I don't want to get into this shit. I have to take care of my life and my responsibilities and my job. So I am saying is that if you are looking for a decent woman on social media, that is your first mistake. You will find that amazingly beautiful girl who will love you forever in real life, not on social media. If a woman has social media, reject her immediately. Find a woman that has no social media, who only uses email, Gmail to send notes and presentations. Like that would be the perfect woman. Any woman who has a Facebook account, Instagram account, reject her immediately. So that is how it works. It will take a effort, because it will be 1 out of 1,000. And also you have to be at the very same time, you have to be very, very beautiful, charismatic, and capable to make that, because those kind of women, they look for longevity of relationships, like a long term. They think about life in terms of long term relationship. Like, I'm gonna marry this guy, I'm gonna have his kids, we'll have a beautiful house together, blah blah blah. So if you are looking for that woman, you also have to prove your mettle, man. You just cannot say that I'm a man. No, no. You have to have a decent job. You have to be productive, physically fit, and very congenial in attitude. Not having any kind of malaise in your head, being smiley, little things matter. So see, it's a two-way street. I guess I have spoken enough. Now you guys continue.
Alrighty. Anyway, we'll try to relate everything back to our main topic here. Does anybody remember what we were saying beforehand? That was fitness. I remember we were leading somewhere, but I forgot where we were getting at with it. Mike, you look like you unmuted.
I think we were talking either about sleep or pushing yourself, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Mikey,
You guys were talking
Mikey.
about when you push yourself to your limits, you're gonna have to break form a little bit slightly.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, and that speaks like the
yeah,
form stuff still provides that, not to keep harping on it, but that form neuroticism still continuously provides
it's
people an
all,
out,
it's all,
so they use the
it's
form stuff. Hang on. They use the form stuff to rationalize, not actually pushing themselves, but necessarily, to Wartorn's point, is that when you lift and you are challenging yourself, your form necessarily compromises to some level. The line to be drawn isn't form 100%. The line to be drawn is form, let's just say like 80, 85%, 90% or something like that. I'll tie into Chiller's left, but I'll say this too, because we're talking about imposter syndrome. So Chiller talks to me about imposter syndrome with lifting. It's interesting that this stuff, we do this like, some of you guys might not be doing this all day, every day, whatever, but I think Mike can speak to this a lot. You lift every day, like it does get to a point where it doesn't feel like you're doing something that profound, that amazing, that ahead of the rest of the world. It is the pernicious problem of most people's lives to figure out how to solve the fitness problem. Yet when you do solve it, you do feel like, it's not that fucking big a deal. It's not that complicated. Yet people have this like insane like fangirling thing over you. I have so many stories from when I worked as a lifeguard, like just my presence and existence, like, and because, you're a lifeguard, so, and, you're just wearing your swim trunks. The, like, fangirling, like, histrionic hysteria everyone had, not just girls, not just, like, men, whatever. It was everyone would just, like, your existence is like, being in the presence. It must be like, when the Native Americans first came across the colonials, not to go into that, not that even is really controversial anymore, but people freak out about that topic. But it's almost as if, like, for the Native Americans coming across the Europeans who are so accustomed to their like firearms or whatever. And then, so it's similarly when you're like the gym guy, it's like everyone fucking around you like loses their mind and has this total meltdown at your existence. But yet to us, it's like, dude, it's not that fucking big a deal. It's not that hard. You could do this too.
Yeah, the problem is someone else is raising the bar and people are lazy. That's the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Wartorn, you go ahead.
Yeah, 100%. They just look at you and they immediately think all the media stuff is correct. Like, oh, he must be retarded. He must be whatever. He must be on drugs. Immediately they just see you and they just think that they don't even get to know you or anything. They just, oh, I got this guy pegged.
Yeah, my favorite would be that they would get mad about that, and then I would speak, and then they'd get mad that I speak elegantly. So they just like lose their fucking minds when they don't have some sort of out, some sort of way to level the playing field, right? Because that's what a lot of this stuff for people is about. It's about like psychosocial power and the image of power. You quite literally, when you have muscle, you have that physical image of power, but the power that threatens people is that power that you have over yourself to ascertain that physique. The power and the mental strength it takes to forego the immediate gratifications of pleasantries and laziness. uh, it's severely threatening to them, and it's even more threatening because you are quite literally their super ego. They superimpose it onto your presence in front of them reminds them that they have an ego ideal, their super ego. They have a person they want to be, and you are that. And your existence in front of them reminds them of that because they're so used to sequestering that ideal image of themselves through all their classical cope theory that it's almost as if their super ego fades into non-existence, and then your presence, because they're not prepared for it, they find it so threatening. They find it so like a jarring experience, like an out of world experience to come across that, and they literally lose their fucking minds because they're not prepared to defend themselves against it. So they just do everything they can to beat you down psychosocially. You go ahead, Wartorn.
Yeah, 100%. When they actually see you being real, it hurts them because the delusion breaks down and they have to face the reality. It's a little bit similar, like when trannies, they get told like, oh, Mr. This, and then they're like, it reminded me of this and that, but in reality, it reminded them of the truth and they can't cope anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. It's people love to live in not reality. All for
People are in denial, man.
Yeah,
That's why we have so many overweight people, people on drugs, alcohol, cigarettes. They're like, oh, it's not that bad. It's not going to make a difference. This is what I heard my whole life.
yeah,
Told people don't smoke, don't drink too much, don't take too many sugary foods. And they're like, oh, it's not going to make any difference. We're all going to die. That's what they say, some stupid shit like that.
yeah. Of course, Lenov, you go ahead.
Actually, the difference is
Yeah,
when you
just
live good, you live a quality life. And even if you live shorter, you're going to feel good at least that whole time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to say there's a wholesome side to it. Like when you transform and you still like visit your family and stuff. Uh, I live with my family, and it actually had a positive outcome. So my sister looks at me that I'm different now, not a teeny puny, uh, scared of everything guy. And she started to get into fitness herself. Yeah, just wanted to share that story.
Yeah, the interesting thing that happens is that it serves as it's like the shit test for like people to be in your lives, wherein most people are going to react negatively because they're just like fucking gay retards. But it's so clear to you that like they don't belong in their lives because they just tell on themselves with their little gay copes and freaking out. But simultaneously, the people who do belong in your life also reveal themselves to you, where they're proud of you or whatever. They encourage that. They want to be like you. They just sort of accept your existence, and they take it as a reminder or an inspiration for themselves to be better. And so it really does a lot for making it very easy to detect whether or not somebody belongs in your life, and whether or not somebody is even, you could even get along with them. Because like with the idea of imposter syndrome, if somebody else just too at the very least relates to the ideas behind what you are and the physique and everything, they might not even work out as much as you do, but they still are of a like mind, and it just completely reveals itself instantly just by the fact that they don't react with like a freak out to the sight of you or to the existence of you. I had a thought about, I think I was going on about parasocial relationships with the fitness people earlier. And no, I think I already made all of those points, especially with the neuroticism and all of that. So that was funny having that guy in here, huh?
Dude, Arthur is crazy, man. Where did he go?
Yeah, I should have probably. I think when I shared the space earlier, that's how we found it. But he, he's he's cool, but he kind of goes on his binges on spaces because he'll go through like an alcoholic drinking phase, and he kind of like splurges out. And
Yep,
when I
yep.
s-
But
I'll pop
he's
in.
supposed to have been quit drinking. I don't know if he's still on the wagon or not.
oh, dude, last night on another space, he was crashing out pretty hard, and he was loaded.
Oh God, I wish I didn't miss that shit, but I was probably sleeping.
When I saw him pop up, I'm like, oh shit, here he goes.
Yeah, bro is King Gooner.
Yo, he's a madman, dude. Once he gets drunk, it's over. It's just total hysteria.
Yeah, too funny. Did anyone else have anything else they thought of earlier that might not relate, or just anything in general?
Yeah, I just keep thinking about that time when you tried to own a woman, I believe, and ran a poll where you ask your audience whether we're incels. And yeah, you did not win that argument.
Yeah, that was so funny. Me, because I talk to Doidled all the time. I talk to you guys all the time. So when I put that poll, I was really confident that like everyone said was going to say that they were married or something or had a GF. Yeah, and then it's funny you remember that. And then all the votes were like, "Oh, we're incels." So, and that girl thought she like so was like, "Haha, look at that! All your audience is incels." And it's like, okay, my audience is incels, I guess. And I'm like, I'm kind of glad actually, because those guys need a lot of help with their confidence, with understanding things. They tend to negative Nelly, and that's not to, they've heard it a million times. So, I'm glad they arrive at my page because, everyone kind of tells them, oh, shut up and, be better and all that and, quit coping. And while like that is part of it, their negative attitude is like a problem. Sometimes you don't defeat a negative attitude by just telling people to stop being negative. That's kind of why I'm organizing myself as like life coach, but really like a therapist. I just can't say I'm a therapist because I'm not licensed yet. But you know, a lot of that stuff with that mentality, like, I mean, we talk a lot about self protection mechanisms here and coping, and see, like, coping by definition is a self protection mechanism. But the key thing of self protection is that a lot of it at times is to either sequester feelings or to, sort of make them non-existent or something, or almost like there's also a self-sabotaging mechanism that these guys do wherein they feel rejected and everything, so to save themselves rejection, it's almost like they reject themselves for the women. And that is where you get all this stuff about looks and all of that stuff, because it's much less hurtful to reject yourself before somebody else rejects you. And simultaneously, the risk, they feel that rejection, they feel like they're going to get rejected, so they risk, everyone tells them, oh, keep trying or whatever, but they risk getting rejected again. So the safer route is to not get rejected again anyway. And so that self-protection, they apply that, but the problem with every self-protection mechanism is that it ultimately sabotages your end goal, which is the relationship stuff. Whatever you want to call it with women, whatever. Ultimately, there's a foundational layer to the human nature that is that you can be happy without women, but ultimately in the end, you're not going to be happy if you don't wind up with a woman. It's just like it's non-negotiable, and it kind of sucks to say that, because how do you reconcile that with masculinity, wherein masculinity has this element of independence, discipline, non-neediness? You reconcile that by just acknowledging that it is something that you want, you always will want, without that doesn't necessarily imply that you're a slave to it, because it's not, you want that for the thing, not you want that to define yourself, or you want that to make yourself feel better, or for confidence, or you're relying on that for anything other than what it is, which is just the relational companionship. So you go ahead, Wartorn.
Yeah, exactly. Like coping helps in the short term, but it absolutely destroys you in the long run. And you can't really do anything about that. So like helping people, you can't really like prevent them from coping, because it's who they are in the moment. So the only thing you can do is give them ways to fight it, and when they make the choice to combat it, then they'll have like something to back on, because you can't really stop somebody from coping. It had to be something that they choose to do themselves.
Yeah, and there's sort of if when people come to me, there is like an implicit ask for help there. So on some level, it is an ask for it is a self admission of I might not have this completely right, but it does require careful treading. In the therapeutic environment, like basically, you're gonna these people are gonna argue with me. And so what I have to do is I do have to deconstruct it, but I have to deconstruct it in such a way wherein I'm not just like refuting it directly. It is a matter of prompting them to think about it for themselves. So that takes the form of not just questions, but providing, like, just sort of forcing the neurons to spark in different pathways, not necessarily by refutation, but just by alternative thought patterns. So you go ahead, Boki.
So the coping mechanism is an interesting subject, and I wanted to add a little bit to that. And when I first started out in nursing, I worked in psychiatric, and what's interesting about that is these people have these acute episodes, and all the different mental illnesses. I'm not going to get into it.
Yeah.
The way we taught them to help themselves through these acute episodes, other than medication, was to develop coping mechanisms. The problem is coping mechanisms have a limitation. They work great for like these acute problems. For example, someone talks some shit to you, or you don't how do you prevent yourself from reacting to that, right? That would be a
Right.
coping mechanism. And for example, the psych people, whatever, they're getting anxiety, you take some deep breaths, try and calm down, think about something different,
Mm-hmm.
don't think about whatever was causing your anxiety and so forth. The problem with coping mechanisms, they don't work beyond that. So people who have long-term problems like self-development issues, it's because they're not putting in the work, and that's the only way to solve that type of a problem. It really just takes effort, and that's long-term gratification. And the problem is the later you get in life, there's no way to cope out of it anymore, because you totally fucked everything up and you only get so many chances, Eventually people get into a crisis. That's where you see some of these shooters and this erratic behavior, because they're generally unhappy with themselves, and you can't ignore it after a while. There's no way to cope your way out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very well said. Hold on, Wartorn keeps shorting in and out here, so it says requested speaker, so let me just do that. Yeah, that's absolutely well said. Like, to your point, coping can only get you so far. I mean, the term coping is like a meme language thing. of, because people do abuse them. The original coping mechanisms were coined by Sigmund Freud's daughter, Anna Freud. That's where the terms projection, that type of meme comes up. And so, but when it is a crutch to uh, uh, excuse oneself from not just work per se, but just excuse oneself from development that's uncomfortable, excuse oneself from any uncomfortable feeling, that's when it's pathological and maladaptive. And fitness is the real like the final boss of that, or like the first boss of that, and most people go their whole lives without beating that battle. The fitness element to it is grounded in everything from that lizard brain stuff to discomfort to physical and all of that. But what's so profound is that, it also serves as a like sort of battleground tutorial for how to deal with all of that stuff the rest of your life as well. Uh, and, but people really just can't even get past that. Sorry, I'm working on adding Wartorn here because it keeps shorting him out. But I'll say that, to your point, like, you have no choice. Like, you're never going to be happy with yourself without solving these issues. And although it's like uncomfortable and everything, you really don't have to spend that much time fighting the urge to be pleased and the urge to avoid discomfort. You really don't have to fight either of those things all that long for it to become a habit that doesn't necessarily run as like a program, because you're still making the conscious decision every day. But it does become something fundamental and foundational to your personality, which makes it something that you kind of just almost like don't understand how to live without anymore. So, Boki, you go ahead.
The most extreme example that I've seen of the outcomes of using coping mechanisms to avoid self-development and responsibility is, for example, when I was working in geriatrics, and I had many conversations with these people. Some of them were very interesting stories, but the most interesting stuff was when some of these people poured out their regrets. And a
Right.
lot of it was them avoiding things like, for example, one guy told me he was very abusive to his family and he never changed his whole life. And when he was towards the end of his life, he ended up in a nursing home. I took care of him. And he's like, nobody comes to see me. And now I'm dying. I don't know about, my grandkids don't see me. And the guy was sitting there saying how much he regretted not facing himself and his problems, his drinking problem, his being abusive to people and his family.
Right.
And at the end of his life is when he paid the price for it, right before his death.
It's absolutely that's tragic.
And
You go
I could
ahead,
tell you
Wartorn.
some other examples too, but that's like the best one, I think.
Yeah. Wartorn, you go ahead.
Yeah, Boki is absolutely correct when he says that there's a limit to coping. And I absolutely love the example that he gave, the deep breath, because there comes a time when the coping isn't going to work, and people believe that you pushing the emotion to the side is going to make it go away, but it's going to build up and it's going to bottle up, and you're going to crash out when it finally comes tumbling down because you aren't doing what's necessary. You have to face your problems because they're always going to be there, and not facing them, they're going to get worse because let's say most people, when they push their emotions to the side, they always remember that thing. Oh, this person did this one time, and then did this other time, and then this and this. And then when you crash out, you remember all those things. And and in that moment, it's like, it's not even getting annoyed. It's not angry. It's rage.
Yeah. And what's so profound is that, like, everyone knows this, right? Everyone knows that, there's things you got to do so that you don't like die like miserable. You're not old in a psychiatric center like that, wishing, regretting things and all of that. And we all know the answer that I always say that we know the answer to the weightlifting question. We know the answer to the fitness question. That question, the FQ, right? To be funny here, the FQ, that's been solved for like many, many years. we all know what the solution to all of this stuff is to actively do it. But the question then becomes, why doesn't it stick for people? And it doesn't stick because people's operative philosophy is entirely just, uh, you know, satiate good feel or they rely exclusively on feelings to inform what to make of their life, and that is really the source of it all. So the idea is you to transcend the the feeling signaling in your mind, in your body, and all of that. And that's actually a huge part of psychology, is bringing forth those feelings to the conscious mind from the unconscious mind, and just observing them and letting them exist, even bad feelings, good feelings, whatever, and regaining that sense of control over yourself. And this is where I blend this with Christianity, because when it's told to us that we are bestowed with a soul, a part of us that is a part of God in each and every one of us. That is the part of you that makes it possible to transcend these feelings and to transcend these instincts, such that you're capable of observing your feelings without reacting to them or responding to them. And with that, you operate on such a higher plane wherein you're able to go to the gym and everything, because you operate as like a fulfilled, like a soul rather than some organism. So if there's anything to take away from me with that today, is to definitely think about that. Think about what it means to transcend your feelings and your physiology, such that you just do things and you just exist and you think about things or whatever, absent feelings. And that's not to say live your life without feelings, because that's by definition depression, the absence of feelings. But live your life not eternally reacting to them, and just observing them and knowing where they come from and why they exist. And in many cases, you have to feel them, both the good and bad, for them to fully process anyway. So you go ahead, Wartorn.
Yeah, to your point, the answer to the question, we know the what: diet, exercise, taking care of your emotions and all that. But
Exactly.
people get the how wrong. Yeah, people get the how wrong. They always, instead of integrating those teachings, like when you're a little kid, people, normies, in fact, they treat everything like fads. So when they fail, they're like, I failed. I'm never gonna do this diet again. And then they stop eating like broccoli and spinach and all that. They go back to what their routine is, the McDonald's, the French fries and all that stuff, because they never actually integrated it. They didn't want to. They just treated it like they treat everything like a fad, like the iPhone, like the weird, boba tea shit. It's how they live. It's who they are.
Yeah, you're bringing up a great point. That in my article about 75 hard, I dissect that. It's a great example that provides the framework for that. The fitness stuff, they're prompted to do it by some sort of motivation feeling, right? And I've talked about that too. Motivation as a feeling is not the same thing as motivation like as a goal. Meaning that, the best way to illustrate that difference is when you watch the video on YouTube and it's in black and white, and the guy in slow mo is walking to the gym and he's got his gym bag on and hoodie on, and it's the music, and then it's like fucking Tony Robbins in the background of like, if you want to do better in your life, you're going to have, that type of thing. It prompts that motivation feeling, and people so then, take that feeling and use it as the fuel to start the weightlifting and all of that. But because they're relying on that, it's fickle. Feelings are fickle. They come and they go, and thus they have to either continuously fuel that, which eventually wears down, just like everything. Like dopamine from that just wears down. You get accustomed to it. To the dopamine of, oh, I get a little hit for, I worked out today, or I did the 75 hard challenge, so I get to feel like I'm one of these cool people who does like all this discipline stuff. I'm that person. And so but it's a fad, to your point. It's a trend wherein, it's not even about any of that. It's about that feeling. And as far as it goes with a trend, it's about, oh, I'm a part of this group now. And that's the secondary layer to the brain and to instincts, wherein there's the mammal brain of I want to fit in, I want to be part of a group, I want to relate to other people. So it becomes something for them to fit into, a way to be amongst other people to get that need met, to get that feeling. But like you said too, eventually it gets hard to the point of they're what they're relying on to fuel them to do it isn't working. So they follow that. Of course, though, instead of with trying to find and understand to trying to transcend that to develop another means by which to keep themselves into this, they develop, this failure mentality wherein they want to fail it, and they want to say it's too hard, or they want to come up with some sort of element to it. In particular, they abuse that it is a trend. They abuse that it is a fad, a game, a challenge, or something. And they sort of dress it up as, oh, let's do that cute challenge, like 75 hard. Let's do this, that. Because they dress it up as like a cute little, nice, fun little game challenge, they've prepared themselves for their inevitable failure so that when they fail it and when they lose it, like you said, they can say, oh, I failed, but they make like it's not a big deal because, oh, whatever, I just lost a little challenge. Hee hee, I just lost a little game. But that's no big deal. But that's how they sequester their super ego induced guilt, or they ameliorate it. But the problem is, the truth isn't that they lost that little fun little game. The truth is they lost to themselves. They didn't keep their promise to themselves, and they didn't find a way to make this a lifelong lifestyle, a lifelong thing that they do for themselves. They would much rather portray it as a fun little whoopsie daisy, cutesy dootsy, cozy little XD, post or trend online, so that when they do inevitably, give it up, it's not the same thing as failing to, get to the gym and be serious. It's, oh, I just failed to play the little game. So you go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Their motivation is fickle, like you said. Their motivation is, I want to look good at the beach. Obviously, it's going to fail because it's not something that it's concrete. Whereas, like, let's say a father, they say, I need to get into better shape and stop being fat so I can see my children in the future. That's concrete. That's why 90% of fathers or mothers, they actually succeed when they have goals like that, because it's not just fickle emotions. It's something that's centered. And to the point as well, when you said about the fads, that is exactly why when the fat positive movement came, so many people willingly jumped towards that, even though even a lot of people that were so-called fitness people, they immediately jumped into that because they weren't there for the correct reason. They were just fad chasers. They were hipsters.
Yeah, dude, this is awesome. You prompt me to remember so many of my ideas and all of that. Yeah, the eagerness with which people jumped onto like fat positivity or whatever speaks to how there's a collective unconscious wherein people will play this game of, there's always the internal individual shame, but there's also the external shame. And so what people did in the collective unconscious is band together and ameliorate this shame incorrectly, wherein they didn't just address it by doing the right thing. Instead, they came up with an induction of, well, let's just all agree not to shame each other for not doing the right thing. And that way we all get a payoff wherein we're all excused from lifting or from the physical component. And so now everyone just laps it up that there's like, oh, well, it's a epic, nobility thing. And they dress it up as it's a noble cause. It's a nobility thing. It's a righteous thing. They dress it up that way to hide the fact that what it really is just that excuse for everybody to be a big fat lazy baby. And with nobody around them shaming them, it sort of like provides them with some sort of empirical evidence as to why they shouldn't shame themselves for it. Nobody else is shaming me, so that must mean it's the correct thing to do. People have this fallacy of, this mammalian fallacy of, if everyone else is thinking it and doing it, then I have to think it and do it too to fit in. But they also abuse that of, instead of trying to do that to fit in, they take to it because they want that to be the socialized structure. So people just lap that fucking shit up. And even the fitness people do it too, to your point. And this is the thing I criticize so much. I think the best example of that is like fucking girls on Instagram. I have a tweet about this. I'll pull it up in a second. Every fucking fitness influencer post, especially if it's women, especially if it's like the skinny, like yoga girl type women, not even like the weightlifting, fat ass ones. Not to be vulgar here, but there's a huge difference. I mean, they all do it, but the skinny fitness yoga girl type specifically does it, wherein every fucking post is like, "Oh, I didn't go to the gym today, but that's okay. It's important to rest. Haha. Oh, I didn't have time for a full workout today, but it's okay. It's important to be proud of yourself for going, even if it's only for 20 minutes. Oh, self-care day." And it's like a gay fucking fruit bowl. So my joke was, when the fuck do you bitches go to the gym? Are you fitness influencers? What the fuck even are you? Every post is, "Oh, I didn't make it to the gym today, but that's okay." It's like, what the fuck are you doing? So you go ahead.
Yeah, another thing. I keep talking. I'm sorry.
No, it's
Another
good.
thing. I've seen that in first world countries we have this problem, and in the ones where they're poorer they don't. And I think a lot of the time it comes down to the way that we see things. Like, even if like there's poor people here, they're still like better than other countries, obviously. But I think it's the way that we see things, because in other countries they see exercise as a need, a necessity, and here we see it as a sport, as a pastime. And that is extremely dangerous, because it's not supposed to be, oh, you get 20 minutes a day, whatever. It's supposed to be, you absolutely need those 20 minutes or you're gonna get worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's this yeah, it's like everything is truly like just an excuse. People treat it as it's like a leisurely thing, and that's portrayed in media, right? Like the rich, girls or whatever, the rich people who just kind of fuck off at the gym all day. And there actually are some faggots. That's why I distance myself from the fitness hashtag, the heckin' fitness community, because those fucking faggots do fuck off at the gym all day. They are kind of useless. Some people take the gym and abuse it as a cope, wherein they fully invest in the gym to excuse themselves from investing in themselves in other ways. Because, it's much easier to just like level 99 one skill tree versus all of them. So they will do that, but that's kind of like very uncommon. The more common thing is people taking that image and using that as a way to say, "Oh, well, listen, like I can't be screwing around at the gym all day. I have more important things to do." And it's like, no, that is foundational. Like, yeah, you can't screw around in the gym all day because you don't want, but that's not going to be your fucking problem. That's nobody's fucking problem. And like, what is more important than that? Like your gay little fucking W-2 job? Like, it's not. Oh, well, the kids or this and that. And it's like, okay, but you will not be like, even in that case, to do the best you can for your kids, you have to do this. You have to be foundationally not just healthy, not just fit, but fucking sexed up, because you are miserable without that. You will never be happy unless you get this solved and complete. And if you're not happy, it emanates from you onto your children, and it's going to emanate through your behavior such that it's going to affect your children negatively. So even in the case of, oh, well, more important things to do, like taking care of the kids, like you always fucking can make the time. In fact, the fact that we're a sort of like a society wherein we have all this leisurely time uh, should make people actually do the opposite. But of course, like to your point, they view it as like a luxury, leisurely thing. And it's like, no, the fact that we are leisurely means that you can actually get this right.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly like you said. Children, they parrot and they copy, and children, they know exactly when somebody's lying. So if you're pretending to be competent, they will in turn still copy that incompetence. That's why there's a lot of people, a lot of that are adults that have the chameleon syndrome, because they copy that from their parents.
Yeah, precisely. Sorry, I'm trying to find my tweet here about that. Whatever, I'll pull it up another time. So yeah, W, this was great insight. This really definitely, you know, glad when we have a lot of people here and you guys speak because it prompts me to go down my lines of reasoning here too, and it's also good to hear your guys'
March, have you ever seen those videos back from JFK's days when they used to have all the fitness standards and everybody
yeah,
had
actually,
to?
yeah.
We need to go back to that because that's where our big failure is. And the fact is that we have all this easy, high calorie food that's not even nutritious. People aren't active. They're sitting on the couch watching television. I mean, listen, I go on walks every day. I walk like 10 to 15,000 steps a day. I bring my phone with me and I walk and I'm on Twitter while I'm walking. You know, you don't have to sit on the couch or in front of a computer. We have all these mobile devices we can bring, but we got to start encouraging. This is probably never going to happen. There's so many people are stuck in their ways. I think this whole generation is ruined. Like 2, 3 generations ruined. And we're going to have to just let it pass. It's like a trough. You know what I mean? It's like a wave that's got to pass through and hopefully the next ones can do better.
Yeah, I mean,
It's kind of like the kid who grows up with an alcoholic father and he's like, I hate him so much. I'm never going to drink alcohol.
yeah, it's this gets to like the political component too. This stuff, especially this fitness stuff, is what convinced me that like you actually do need a societal structure, like almost like an aristocracy wherein there's the nobility and there's people who can be fucking trusted to behave and be under control. And then there's the masses. And like the masses need their fucking handheld. You know, like you said, I think what this really gets at is that most people never really grow the fuck up. Like this is by definition child behavior. This is by definition what it means to be a child. And isn't it so interesting how the political thing memes of, oh, heckin' freedom and the heckin' right to vote, and it's like, okay, well, why should people have that? And people really who say that, it's just code for, well, I want to have the freedom to coom endlessly. And it's like, okay, but I always bring up, okay, so then why do we restrict children then? We restrict children, and I do this with like, especially family members too, right? You know, the heckin' right to vote. And I say, okay, well, why do we make the right to vote age 18? And the answer is, well, you know, they kind of like know where I'm going with it, so they can't really provide an answer. But the answer is, well, because children can't really, you can't rely on children to make informed, rational, good decisions. So it's like, okay, but why do we assume that at 18, there's like, it just necessarily stops there? Like, people well into adulthood act like fucking big fat babies. And most people do because it's instinctive to act like that, because it feels good to act like that. It doesn't, it feels bad to be an adult. It's uncomfortable to be an adult. So this gets at the political component of, okay, well, clearly none of these people can be fucking trusted. You know, the fitness problem is solved, yet most people are still fucking fat, lazy babies. And so it becomes, well, now these people can't be trusted. And as a matter of fact, their freedoms do need to be restricted because clearly they can't be fucking trusted with their freedom. So maybe we do need to impose like health restrictions and eating restrictions. And like I always say the meme with my friends, like, you know, you're not allowed to buy meat if you don't bench a certain amount or deadlift a certain amount. Obviously, it wouldn't make sense because to get to deadlifting that amount, you'd have to eat meat. But you know, let's call it something like whatever. You could buy as much as you want, you know, past benching 225 or something, and then it's restricted before then. But all that's to say that like most people cannot be trusted to grow up and make the decisions themselves, and so fitness is a great example of that, wherein you know, the masses do need to be restricted. They do need their handheld. The government, it really is the larger scale parents of the babies that are normies and the average person. So you go ahead, Wartorn.
Yeah, exactly. If a normie gets to choose between eating healthy and eating a hamburger, 99% of the time they're going to choose the hamburger. So because they can't be trusted, it has to fall on people that are smarter, that are more competent to make the hamburger healthier. So they make the wrong choice, but it doesn't hurt them as much. And you can see this a lot when you go to liberal colleges and you ask them who they're gonna vote for, and they always say, "Oh, for this person, 'cause he's cute," or some dumb shit like that.
Yeah, woman moment with JFK. What's so funny about that too is like It's very evident when, voting and who's running for candidacy. It's like literally the exact same thing as when you're in like fifth grade and they're doing like the student president, and one student president promises everybody recess every period and no uniforms and pizza every day for lunch. Like literally, people grow into adulthood and literally their politics are fucking that. They will vote for whoever promises them the most coom, the most pizza, and fucking recess every period. Like that's literally what it is on the liberal college campuses. That's basically what liberalism is. And so these people obviously can't be fucking trusted to vote correctly for that. In the school environment, the teachers put a stop to that because that's obviously retarded. But like why that just implies that we need to do that on the larger scale, on the adult scale, on the governmental scale, wherein these people are restricted. Maybe we should extend the voting age. Maybe voting does have to have some sort of qualification to it. Like, I mean, the original voting was, I think, land ownership. The women part gets controversial, so we'll save that for another time. But the premise there, stands. Property ownership voting, or 18 might be a little too young. Like, why would we decide 18 rather than 25? You can't trust an 18-year-old to buy alcohol, so why can you trust them to vote? Like that type, that's kind of like a low IQ point. But it is foundational. Most people really just do need their hands held, and do need to be controlled, and do need to be told what to do. And like this, the fact that infringes upon freedom, people love to say, oh well, we should have heckin' freedom. And it's like, okay, why? Like, according to who and or what? Like, where are we getting that from? But it's just like this NPC programming from their gay little YouTube videos of like an American flag and then a bald eagle and then the sound of a bald eagle and him heckin' freedom.
Yeah, I get a lot of anarchos always that are always telling me, oh, absolute freedom is necessary, or you can do whatever the hell you want. I always tell them they're stupid because they don't understand what that means.
Yeah.
But they always say it's the only way. And then I say, I'm going to explain something really simple to you. For me, simple, I guess. If everything was free, people would do whatever they wanted, and people that wanted to have a normal life would band together, kill those people, and there would be no anarchism left. So you are literally calling for your own destruction.
Yeah. I mean, precisely, right? It's what do we think is going to happen if, like, firstly, just we don't have total freedom to begin with. Laws, by definition, are not total freedom. I've been watching Andrew Wilson. I'm sure you guys see him a lot. His debates a lot, and I don't get this from him, but he, not to be egotistical, but like I do think of this stuff and is this stuff independent of where I get it from with them. But he is absolutely right, wherein he talks like every time he has this argument, it's so simple of, oh, heckin' freedom. And it's like, okay, do we have freedom? They're like, yeah. And we should have more freedom. And it's like, okay, uh, you go to jail for murder. Is that freedom? And it's like, oh, well, no. Well, technically, okay, well, we should have freedom so long as it doesn't physically harm people. And that stuff even more so pisses me off because that's just like the most mammal brain coomer programming. And it's like, there's more to morality and there's more to people's behavior and the necessary requisites for their behavior than just don't fucking hurtsy feelsy anybody, don't hurt anybody. But to your point, it's like they say freedom. It's like by definition, you have to start with some freedoms infringed upon. Otherwise, it is just anarchy. Otherwise, it is, people just either attacking each other or stealing from each other or doing whatever, being naked or like out in the street and actually. And Freud's book, Civilization and Its Discontents, talks a lot about this too, because it doesn't just take the form of laws, right? For example, it's not illegal to be in a restaurant and eat with your hands instead of the fork. But we do that because we have these foundational psychosocial rules that necessarily infringe upon our freedoms. And in fact, in Freud's book, he said, people find ways to discharge the stress that induces upon people of not being able to be so impulsive. But everyone who advocates for freedom is really just saying, I want to be able to act on impulse like a giant fucking baby the rest of my life. So, Boki, you go ahead.
Yeah, you make a lot of good points there, and I wanted to add that this is where I had a lot of arguments with libertarians when I was in my early 20s, because I was into libertarianism because I felt like we were overregulated by the government. And the original way that people were regulated was through the extended family. So the older family members always controlled the younger family members through discipline. You didn't need the government, nor could the government even micromanage everybody. And today is a great example of how they can make any laws. That doesn't mean people are going to follow them. They can make regulations and everything else. There's always somebody cheating the system.
Yeah.
Now, they claim that libertarianism is supposedly uh, free when it comes to the government, but then we're liberal socially. And I said, libertarianism is about politics. It's about having the right amount of government. It has nothing to do with doing whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with that shit. We're not liberals. We just want the right amount of government, the sweet spot, so that society can function in an orderly way and it's fair for everybody. That doesn't mean we're going to go tell everybody that you can go party and do ecstasy, have sex frivolously and
Yeah.
do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
That's just irresponsible.
Yeah.
You're actually not making people free by telling them that.
Yeah.
You're bringing them into another form of slavery.
Yeah.
Which is even worse oftentimes than government slavery, because at least oftentimes with extremely organized government, everybody is usually at least forced to do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
May not be fun, but they're not destroying themselves on drugs, alcohol, sex, and all these other vices. It's insane what's going on.
Dude, that's such a good point. I'll just say real quick.
Wait, one more thing. The worst part about this, when you create a society like this with so many people thinking that being hooked on vices is freedom, what happens is now that situation that you said, all these parasitic people come in, they start making porn because now there's somebody to buy it. They start making alcohol because there's somebody to buy it. They start manufacturing drugs because there's somebody to buy it. So in essence, by telling people to do this, we are creating customers.
Yeah.
And then what happens? Somebody comes in and makes it because they have somebody to sell to.
Yeah.
And that's why we are where we are.
Yeah. Real quick, your point that like dopamine slavery is the greater slavery. Drug addiction is the greater slavery. That's why I really fucking hate the faggot fucking beer and boobs masculinity fucking faggots with their faggot fucking beer acting like they're such fucking tough guys for drinking beer, which is remarkable because what's so fucking hard about drinking beer? That's an easy thing to fucking do, you faggots. And so they LARP like they're such tough guys, but it's like you are a slave to alcohol. That's not being a man. Subordination to anything like that. I mean, you have to be subordinate to the rules of law and to God and everything, but subordination to fucking substances, you're pussy. You're a fucking giant fat fucking pussy. Slavery to alcohol like that, alcohol owns these faggots. Alcohol and drugs or whatever, that owns people. You are enslaved more than the government could ever fucking possibly do so to you. War Torn, you go ahead.
Okay, give me a sec. Give me a sec, Chiller. Yeah, 100%. There has to be like a 100% limit to what is acceptable and what isn't. And we all know what the limit is. And there's a group that keeps breaking that limit, and we know that they're not supposed to be doing it, but it's always been don't touch the kids, you know?
Yeah.
Every single like person in the world. But the like 2% that's either Troon or like LGBT, whatever the fuck, they want to keep pushing that shit to kids. And that is the hard line between every person that is right in the head and that isn't right in the head.
Yeah, and what's remarkable about the Troon thing too is that a lot of people are still fucking little pussies scared of conflict because what they do is the kids is a hard line, but it's like, okay, what precipitates them getting to kids is letting them do this in the first place. And libertarian, not actual libertarians like Boki says, but these like libertarian types wherein it's, oh, well, just do it in the heckin' privacy of your home. Okay, well, if it's in the privacy of your home, it obviously leaked out of the privacy of their homes. And the kids thing is like the safe way to say, oh, because that's not actually the controversial thing. The controversial thing to say is no, that fucking gay butt sex shit is wrong in the fucking first place. And it doesn't need an explanation. Well, here's how it technically hurts people. It's wrong because it's inherently wrong, because it's degenerate, because it's gross, because it is foundationally makes people fucking freaks that are antisocial and maladaptive, and it doesn't follow along with anything. And there's always going to be divergence, but it's divergence that we've enabled, and people keep hiding behind the kids component of it, and that's why this is still a fight. That's why they haven't been defeated, because hiding behind the kids component to it arms them with, well, it's not all of us doing it to the kids, and well, blah blah blah. We just want it in the privacy of our home. No, it cut the snake at the head. It's wrong foundationally. Side note, I heard you talking about Chiller. I fucking knew you guys knew each other IRL. If he's in your room with you or wherever you are right now, I fucking knew it. You guys knew each other.
No, we're just on Discord.
Oh, okay. That would have been so funny. Pokey, you go ahead.
I remember when we were growing up, and this is in regards to that argument you just made, keeping in the house supposedly. The kids that showed the rest of us drugs and all the negative stuff were the ones that saw their parents doing it. And that's how all of us found out about it, was from them.
Yeah.
So that shit doesn't stay in the house. And if we have a disorderly society like this, and another big exposure I had with this was, I don't know if you guys remember Hustler magazine. You're a little bit younger than me. I'm in my 40s. But, the Hustler magazine got sued. Larry Flint ended up winning the lawsuits because he's calling pornography freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And here's where things got fucked up for me. Because me and my other libertarian friends, we had an argument. I was like, this is not freedom of speech. I was like, because this is a vice. And he's using that vice to trick other people into that vice. And then he's making profit off of their use of that vice. And they're basically becoming addicts. So that guy is a leech.
Yeah.
He is causing suffering to others and making profit off of it on top of it.
Yeah. Freedom.
And we have a society full of people like this doing this shit, and we just accept that as freedom, and it doesn't make any sense at all. No sense. And they use our constitution and all this other stuff as a way to protect it. That's what's ironic to me. Imagine if we use the laws to protect criminals, which is what lawyers often do.
Yeah.
If you pay enough money to a lawyer, he will twist all the facts in the case and get you innocent even if you're guilty.
Yeah.
We're basically buying this stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It would never normally exist in a normal society.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's why it's getting so much worse too. We're at the apex of this shit. Now what's happened is they've ruined so many people, and those people don't even have money to pay anymore. Now they need new victims. They need new hosts. Like every parasite, eventually it kills its host.
It moves on.
And it needs new hosts. Yep. It moves on to the next host to try and infect them, and then it's gonna suck them dry until they have nothing left.
You brought up, when they see their parents doing it. When I grew up, my parents didn't really get drunk much, but every fucking dinner they just had to have their gay, precious little fucking wine glass. And even my first thought when I was an adolescent was kind of funny. It's like, okay, what's the point? Like, no fucking balls. If you're gonna drink, get fucking drunk, pussy. But then, I mean, like the one drink, still produces a, physiological feeling that people use to relax or whatever. But to your point, me and my wife, we don't drink at all, and like literally at all. Not even once every few months or something. I think the last time I like drank was probably like 2 or 3 years. And mind you, it was 2 or 3 years ago the last time I drank, but like for the past 10 years, the most, like, it would be once, and then like maybe, it would be completely inconsistent. Like if you were to average it, it would be like point two times a year. And then, since like 2, 3 years ago, it hasn't been a single time. But we both were saying we're curious as to how it's going to influence our children. And not that even I ever even had a problem with it, but we were both curious as to how it's going to influence our children. in the future where we're not going to have a single drop of alcohol in our household. Because it just does nothing for us. I mean, forget even the pleasure component to it, because especially alcohol, many people, it's like a crutch for their low self-esteem. What is it called? Not beer goggles, but the liquid courage or something like that. That was what drew me to it originally when I was like a teenager and when I was in college, especially in college, right? Because you go to college, you try to get laid. That's like literally why I went to college when I was 18. I'm glad I grew out of that, but you know, it was so profound to me. Like after a couple months of that, I was just like, okay, is this making me actually more confident? Like, no, this isn't fucking working. I just get pissed drunk and then like, be so drunk that like I couldn't even like get words out, trying to talk to girls or anything. And it's just so like in your face that this stuff is like ridiculous. Uh, but it just goes back to how many people need to be actually like regulated, and like, for them to actually be useful is for them to be like sent to a fucking camp or something. Unironically, I mean, a work camp, not other kinds of camps, but I got to censor myself there for Twitter. So, you guys, we could
Yeah,
keep
they all
talking
got
for
to
a
go to
moment.
boot
I'll just
camp
say
because we got an obesity problem in the United States that's so bad it's insane. We need to send everybody to boot camp.
Yeah, and
Everybody.
then, bro, and you guys might have seen, I've been quoting that fucking faggot, Carnivore Aurelius. Unfucking believable. Like, I don't just want to say, oh, he's Jewish or something, but like, seriously, this guy fucking has the most gay, retarded takes that thousands and hundreds of thousands of normies follow him because all his gay little fucking takes are just those cope excuses. I forget even what the last thing I said was, but the sugar thing, like, fucking seriously, like, first of all, you're a midwit if you actually posted this unironically, and if you posted it ironically, it's just like, like, are you fucking serious? Like, you're gonna seriously, post a gay little? It's that meme of the chud where he's like, "If you would please consult the graph," and it's like, "Oh, sugar consumption went down, but obesity went up." Duh. So that must mean that it's not, that I'm indulging in sugar all day that's making me fat, because the heckin' data proves otherwise. So, duh. Yes. Yes. So now I can get to eat as much sugar as I want. Yes, because it's obviously not the sugar that's causing the obesity. And it's like, dude, like, this stuff where people just fucking endlessly like twist it and fucking contort themselves to come up with this bullshit, really speaks to how this is like a widespread problem of, like you said, obesity, but also mediocrity, because these mediocre types will lap this fucking shit up and follow it religiously, but follow their interpretation of it religiously, which is, oh, sugar's not bad for you, so I guess I could just eat as much fucking sugar as I want now. It's like unreal.
Hey, what was his name again?
A
Carnivore.
carnivore Aurelius.
I'm gonna take a look. Try to search him up.
Yeah, his picture is him with his gay little hippie long hair. That's what all these people are. These are like hippies.
Dude, he posted two graphs that were combined in one. The left side was the total grams in sugar consumption, and the right graph was, I believe, what was the American's weight.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
And so what happened was he showed that on the left side, the peak of their sugar consumption was like 102 grams, if I remember
yeah,
right. And then he shows the line, it goes down like 10 grams to 92,
yeah,
which is still extremely high. Consuming 92 grams of sugar a day is insane.
yeah. And then,
There's no way around that. So that's fucking bad for you. Extremely bad. And then he compares it with a totally different scale on the right. He's like, oh, look, they're decreased sugar consumption and it's not changing their
yeah,
weight. Yeah, because it's 10 fucking grams,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, I mean, just the way that
It's not
graph
a big
is
deal.
scaled manipulates its look. Oh, line go up, one line go up, one line go down. Duh. So, duh. I guess that means, it's like, here, I quote tweeted it, so let me share it to the space here. Uh,
That guy with he's like turned around in
yeah.
an A shirt chair. Okay, I was
And
looking
it's
at
just
it.
like, on some level, if like you look at him, he's not fucking big, he's not jacked. So why the fuck you listening to him? Do you want to get big and jacked? Do you want to get sexed up, or do you want to be a fucking hippie? You know.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a softie. I was reading where he has one, alcohol causes cancer, but wine may be safe. I mean, that's alcohol too, so what is it?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, but wine may be safe. What are you, a woman? What are you, a divorced woman, and you need to have your fucking wine glass every night? Like you fucking faggots. And all of these people, especially on here, they're just like modern day hippies with this stuff. But everything they fucking say is just one step removed from coping, from fucking off. It's always one step removed from that. So normies just lap it up and they follow that religiously because now, oh look, the fit guy's tight. Looney just liked one of my posts where I was making fun of Nancy Mace, and the post is girl that posts her tight, virile, naked little body to own the pervs and libtards because she kept saying that. Oh, I'm gonna post my naked body. I'm gonna post my naked body. And it's like you're literally like we could all tell you're getting horny typing that out, you fucking freak. So anyway, it's just funny that I Freudian slipped because I'm looking at my notifications on that. But uh, yeah, these normies will follow that because it provides those excuses, and they get to say, "Look, I'm following the fitness guy's advice, so therefore, I am fit, and therefore I'm, uh, you know, I got it all figured out, and therefore, see, look, this guy says, this fit guy, with the huge following says, you can actually eat sugar and not get obese, so therefore, I'm going to do that, and it's just like forever and ever and ever. It's really like gay and
Oh,
insufferable.
you want to know what the most ironic part about that is too? When it doesn't work, they're gonna be like, "I tried it and it didn't
Yeah,
work."
yeah, yeah,
It's all bullshit.
yeah, exactly. And then they get mad, and then they cope and see that they're not big. Like you look at Mike's picture, you look at my picture. I'm sure you guys are fucking sexed up freak beasts too. But you look at our two pictures, like they'll do all that, then they'll cope and see them poop their pants that they don't look like Mike or me or anybody who looks has the look, and they will cope and see them poop their pants about it. So then, of course, the steroid accusations come out, or the course the cheating, or the genetics, or the blah blah blah, and it's like. No, it's because I don't fucking eat sugar because faggot Aurelius posted a faggot graph that tries to manipulate you into thinking that sugar doesn't cause fucking obesity. So uh yeah. Real quick, I want to get ready to wrap this up a little bit because speaking of, I'm going to head to the gym this evening. But
Yeah, it's 1 a.m. over here, so I'm gonna have to probably, call it a night for
1
now.
a.m., bruh, you passport broing right now? 1 a.m.
Yeah, I'm in Bosnia, man. I'm in Sarajevo.
Damn, yo, you sus, bruh. Yo, Boki FBI agent confirmed, TBH.
Nah, man, I've never been law enforcement. I wouldn't rat anybody out.
Ratting us out for,
No, I'm probably more on the dark side than on that legal side of
yeah, that's
shit.
true, actually, Bosnia. You should hit up, we had, not Lenov, but, one of my guys that's usually in our spaces, his thing is, I think it's either Lori's top guy or Iori's top guy. He said he's not in the Anglosphere, so I think that area, Twitter mutuals meetup, you might be able to do that.
So if you ever notice anything about me, and if I post what times I'm off work or what times I'm available, I always use the East Coast time because that's my home zone.
Yeah,
You know what I
same.
mean?
Yeah.
And I function on that zone no matter where I'm at. The problem is when I go more than 6 hours west or east, I start to get fucked up because I start to have to stay up all night long. And I don't mind staying up too late like this. I'll still wake up, I'll go to bed at like 2 a.m.
Yeah,
I'll wake up at around probably 7:38. Sometimes a little bit earlier, depends, because I don't use an alarm. I just wake up. You know what I mean? And when I'm rested, I'm rested. I just wake up. So once I go into like too far zones, in like the eastern parts of the world, there's like less reliable internet and I have to have it. There's no way around it because of work. So
absolutely.
going past 6 hours is tough. It starts to mess with me.
Yeah, roger that. So yeah, getting ready to wrap this up here. Any final thoughts? Every time I do that in my spaces, it winds up being another like hour, but it's still good. So by all means, don't be afraid. I know we have Mr. Dark Mag, and Looney. I invited you guys to speak. So if you guys had any thoughts, by all means, accept that and go ahead. I saw Frostbite and Griga. You might have something to say there. Looks like.
I shorted out what happened. What was it?
I was just saying I'm wrapping up the space the next few moments. So if you had any final thoughts, any pressing questions, thoughts, whatever.
No, well, I did want to say that way back in the conversation about forcing yourself
Hmm.
to like working out, I like it. I like that because it's like you. I like the thought of maximizing, dopamine.
You're cutting in and out. No, it says you're a listener. Try inviting you to speak again.
Hey, good space, Marquise. I know I didn't participate enough on this one. I was catching up on a lot of office work, but
No, you're
yeah,
good, bro.
definitely more of your guys' spaces. And yeah, for the other fellas in here, have a great weekend, guys. Happy Memorial Weekend as well.
Alrighty, bro. Yeah, you too.
Too, man. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Be safe out there. It could be drunk drivers.
True. True that.
Oh, dude, you should see what happens on Long Island on Memorial. It's
Yeah.
insane, man. There's fucking cops pulling people over everywhere. They got checkpoints. You know how many people they catch drunk driving, how many accidents there are? It's
I know, and
insane.
like I so don't feel bad for them. Like, every time I meet somebody who drinks and they piss me off, I'm like, dude, just go fucking drunk drive yourself into an accident, you fucking loser. Real like gas station behavior, that stuff. But based if any of you guys have driven drunk before, it's based when you do it though. I'll just say that.
I've done it, man. I've got two DWIs myself. That's why I had to stop drinking because I was like, I'm an idiot and this has to end. There's no way
Yeah.
around it. I was like that in my 20s though. We all went to college. We drank. Thank God I never drank liquor, because I was against it. It's too dense in
Yeah.
alcohol, too concentrated. I consider that shit like crack, so I wouldn't touch it. But I can still chug. I can chug a dude. You know how fast I can chug a beer? You ever watch The Man Show?
No.
Well, The Man Show. Oh, you gotta check that shit out, dude. That's what I used to watch when I was a young guy. So The Man Show, there was this one dude. He would fill up like a nice, like a pint glass, and he would just lift it straight up and pour the whole thing down his throat in like 2 seconds. I could do that shit.
Yeah.
Like when I used to go to Arizona State University to visit my friend Gavin, me and his other friend, we would just start chugging
Yeah.
contests. And me and him both could do that shit, and everybody was like shocked because we would just start pounding beer after beer. It was insane, dude. It was fucking crazy. I don't know why we even did it. I have friends who drank so much liquor, they ended up in the emergency room, nearly dead. My friend Jason
Yeah.
almost died from liquor. Like, they had to pump his stomach and shit. Oh man, you should have seen what he looked like, dude. White as a ghost. He actually, at that incident, he quit alcohol. He quit drinking
Yeah,
because of
some
it.
people they kind of do the rock bottom arc of hitting rock bottom before they could get better.
Yeah. And what ended up happening was he started becoming like a drug and alcohol counselor as a result to prevent other
A lot of
people from
people.
that. And that's what triggered me to stop it
Nice.
too. Cause I was like, yeah, I was like, this guy's doing something right here. And I was like, I gotta follow suit because this is the right thing to do. This is the right time to follow somebody. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's a proper lead.
Yeah. W. Alrighty. Anybody else have any final thoughts here?
Nope.
Alrighty. Alrighty, all set. Thanks for joining. Thanks for the people who spoke. Thanks for the people who listened. This will remain pinned on my profile if you want to use it for anything, if you want to reference it. I use a audio recorder thing to upload this to my YouTube too. And then you could stay on the lookout for. I finished up a TikTok earlier today. I haven't posted it yet. I got to put it in and posted and everything, but that'll be there too. So this will remain pinned at my profile, and that's everything. Um, yeah,
Yo,
W.
wait. What do you want to say, Chiller? You hear him?
It's not coming through. It like shorts out.
Oh shit. He said he was glad for you having him there.
Yeah, absolutely. Chiller. Thanks to Chiller for this idea. we didn't talk too much about imposter syndrome specifically, but that's okay. We exchanged a lot of good ideas, a lot of good insight here. So,
Yeah,
alrighty,
I'm
everybody.
glad I was able
Okay,
to
so I'm out. You all have a good night and enjoy your evening and be safe out there this weekend.
Alrighty, you too, my friend. Frostbite and
yeah,
Grega,
be
you go
safe,
Thanks,
man.
ahead.
buddy. Likewise. Take it easy, guys.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Alrighty, all good. Alrighty. You guys take care, enjoy, and
Same to
I'm
you.
sure we'll be talking more throughout the day. Thank you. See ya.